Sora, you don't believe that. I know you don't.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Explosion Network's Kingdom Hearts 3 review discussion with full spoilers. Be aware, we will pretty much be diving into spoilers pretty much off the bat. Me and Ash are going to dive into our overall kind of thoughts on the game.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the overall gameplay as a whole, and then we're pretty much going to be diving into discussing each world, going through them all, and then we're going to head right up to the last third of the game and the massive meltdown that is the last third of Kingdom Hearts 3, and we're going to be discussing that and breaking it down. So if you haven't played the game, if you haven't finished the game, this is not the video for you. If you have played it and you have finished it and you're a major Kingdom Hearts nerd, this video may annoy you because we're probably going to get lore and all these sorts of things wrong. But if you're a medium Kingdom Hearts fan that's finished the game, this is the thing for you, I feel. So yeah, I'm Dylan. This is Ash. We're going to be your lovely Organization 2 members today for this journey along the place. Okay, so let's jump into it. I want to get your overall thoughts, Ash. What are your thoughts at a brief of Kingdom Hearts 3?
I had a really great time playing it, but looking back on it, I'm like, did I? I don't know. It's weird. Like, nothing is too stand-out-ish about it, like, surprisingly, except maybe the last third is really cool and fun, but yeah. It's really weird.
It's I feel like I kind of feel similar, like what you're getting, because I had fun playing it, but looking back, I didn't love any of the Disney worlds particularly, like, a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, none of them stand out compared to all the previous games to me, really, at all. They were fine, but then also one of my biggest problems with this game is that I feel more so than any other Kingdom Hearts game before, the Disney stuff is just tacked onto this game, and it feels like it doesn't even want to be a part of this game. Because by the time you get to the last third, it's kind of like, oh, this is what the game is. The story that Nomura wants to tell is all the last third of this game. It's all the stuff with the characters that are newly invented Kingdom Hearts characters and stuff. It's nothing to do with the Disney characters or any of the other things, to the point where all the organization members showing up throughout the Disney worlds basically do nothing or have no real point. And I remember, like, even in other previous games, and at least like Kingdom Hearts 2, for example, where organization members were showing up throughout the Disney worlds, you would actually have fights with them, and like big story beats would happen throughout the game. It was more spread out. This game's kind of like, here's the Disney simulation stuff where not much really fucking happens, and then the last third's like, fucking story beat. Like, let me throw you a million things at your face right now. And I don't think it works particularly well because lots of emotional things happen. But then as soon as it's done, it's like, okay, here's another thing. And here's another thing. They never have any breathing room. Whereas if some of those moments had been spread out throughout the entirety of the game, you know, it's probably my biggest problem with the game. It feels really like the Disney stuff doesn't need to exist at this stage. And it's just
not really
forced.
It's just there to get people into the game.
Yeah, it's quite odd, really, how it all works out. But other than that, like,
but then you had fun playing it. it's
the thing. Like,
when you look back on it, that you're like, oh, that didn't really work.
So talk about like the gameplay moment to moment, because obviously the thing you're going through it. The reason it is fun to play, I think, and that's the thing. It's also very mindless to play, I find. Given we're not playing on the hardest difficulty and like having to actually do a lot of blocking and rolling or any of these sorts of things. But if you're just playing on normal difficulty, I do feel like it's just lots of mindless X button smashing, and then you choose from one of 20 million different special abilities that are open to you at any point in time. Lots of flashy things happen on the screen. There's fucking shit going everywhere. It's very easy to play and watch, I suppose.
Did you
fun.
Die at any point prior to the final third?
No, don't think so.
Same. except for the gummy ship stuff, but that's it.
I don't think I died until the last boss fight, as far as I can remember. And then in the last boss fight, I died like
Boss
3-4 times, like a few times, and to the point, and we can talk about that more when we get to it, I suppose. But to the point where in the final boss fight, I was actually like, "Oh fuck yeah, there is a way to block," and I ended up having to, because I hadn't had to do it all game until that point. But I was like, "Oh wait, there is a way to block. Yeah, I should be probably blocking these attacks right now to survive." But up until that stage, I really hadn't bothered. Yeah, it's not to say that Kingdom Hearts games prior to this, the gameplay was super relying on being great at dodging and blocking, unless she was doing the like Sephiroth boss fights or the extra boss fights and these things. For the most part, it is and always has been just button mashy, fun, press keys and stuff. But I will say for this one, I feel like the magic was the weakest, like and the least important, more so than any other game. Like,
no, really is.
Yeah, I felt like in other ones, and I haven't played 1 or 2 for a while. And I know that I'm pretty sure even in like the spin-offs like Birth by Sleep and these other sorts of things, this works. But like, say you had a red enemy, like a fire enemy, water damage would actually do like critical damage to them. But in this game, it doesn't seem to matter what magic you're using on enemies. It's just whatever.
Yeah.
It's
just a fire effect or a water effect. That's the only difference.
Yeah, no tactical
different animation.
Yeah, no tactical reason to really be doing any sorts of special magics or of any kind. So that was really good. And that pretty much led me to just spamming Waterer basically all game, because it was like the most AoE thing I could just fly across, whereas like fire spells weren't going as far around the place as other things. So anyway, I had fun playing it. I do feel like the gameplay, several weird things where it's like the magic isn't really necessary, it feels, and like
it's overshadowed by the second forms and the attractions and the special ability. You've got so many other special abilities that magic sort of falls by the wayside. That's for Donald to do.
Yeah, and but they feel more useless than other games as well. I'm like, okay, but even then, it's like the other, like your attractions and stuff. I felt like no matter what you was using, it always kind of came down to what seemed the most reliant thing that you could be doing most of the time is just spamming X and attacking enemies. Seems to be the most reliable way to do damage out of all of the special abilities that you can get and all these other sorts of things. It's like, I was not doing that much. Like maybe I'll just whack away with my Keyblade and hope for the best here. So overall, gameplay though is fun. It does so much, and I don't think it does any of it like
all special
or special or amazing. Great. Like it just does it. It does a bunch of things okay, and a bunch of things okay smashed together in a game that looks as good as this does, because this game of course looks amazing. It's like, it's flashy, it's fun, and it makes for very easy gameplay moment to moment. And then when you mix that gameplay in with visiting a bunch of Disney worlds and Disney characters, it's kind of like, just makes for a very 2/3 of the game is just very kind of floaty, and you're just smash X, all Disney characters, this is fun, like it's very, and until you get to that last third where it gets all super serious and more boss fights that you actually have to pay attention to. It's like, I found it pretty chill for that for the most part. So all right, so let's actually jump into starting to explain some sorts of, or attempting to explain things and discuss the actual story moments in some sort of, I don't know, fashion. I don't think I could fully explain the story in a fashion that would please super fans, though. So that's why I'm putting that.
Full disclosure, I've only played 1 and 2.
Yeah,
I haven't played any of the.
I haven't played like the mobile ones, the 3DS ones, or the DS one. All those I've covered through videos and that sort of stuff. So that does make the lore kind of stick out thing. But so the game opens, and this is the thing that you made a joke about. So the game opens and tries to set things up with playing the final clip from Kingdom Hearts 0.2 Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage, which was the special new part that was included in the Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue collection, and that part was actually a new section for that collection of the game. So that ends with them saying, hey, we need to piss off to Olympus. And then it comes up, of course, in this game with Kingdom Hearts 9.0 No,
2.9.
2.9, which of course, yeah, you when you saw it, you laughed your ass off and you was like, fucking hell.
Yeah, I tweeted it out. It's great.
Yeah. But then when I did explain to you, like, kind of after, I was like, it kind of makes sense because it's like the sequel. It's weird, of course, if you don't know what's going on, but at the same time, I was like, it makes
It's still funny.
It's for sure still funny, but I did find it somewhat, yeah, amusing. So the setup for the game is Sora has lost all his powers after being nearly kind of taken over by Master Xehanort, and that is from Dream Drop Distance. No, 3D. Yes, fucking hell, we're getting old. We're already off to a bad start. And thus he needs to get his powers back for the upcoming battle against the organization, Xehanort, Keyblade War. You know, all these sorts of things are going to happen. So, and the newly formed organization. So him losing his powers, I feel, does, like, within the story, does work out nicely for a thematic reason, for the, like, gameplay wise, for a reason for you to actually need to build Sora's character back up and have him be weaker at the start of the game, given that, of course, he was building up powers for all the other games and getting stronger and stronger. So I kind of like that. And then setting up to the first world to go find Hercules, I do feel that Olympus is the only world out of all of them that actually has a reason for you going there. And after you go to Olympus, I feel like every world thereafter has no reason to exist or no reason for you.
Wandering the universe.
Yeah, you're literally just wandering around doing pretty much nothing. And this is kind of one of my problems with the worlds in this game, because in previous games, there was reasons for Sora to be visiting worlds.
You're unlocking stuff or
yes.
doing different things.
And literally in this game several times, like I remember in the Tangled one where it's like, Donald's like, why are we here? And Sora's just like, beats me, Donald. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, you're wandering the universe while there's this massive organization gathering their forces. Yeah,
I understand it's like, oh, he's trying to get the power of waking and stuff like this and whatever else, but it just feels very weird to have no reason to be going to any place or no plan, and then 2/3 of the game is literally just basically Sora just floating through the worlds with no reason to be going anywhere. And I think it is weirder, especially because the previous games, there has always been a reason for him to be visiting certain places and worlds and going there in the first place. But yeah, so the game
they kind of try to shoehorn things in, like, oh, they're one of the new Guardians of Light or whatever. That's why
he doesn't know that when he goes there, though. It's all
I
don't know. I just found that weird. But so the first world we head off to is Olympus, and Sora's going there to he wants to talk to Hercules about how to get his powers back, because he wants to talk to Herc about how he recovered his powers when he lost them and he saw him lose them, and then he gets them back and all these sorts of things. They arrive in Olympus. Of course, there's a bunch of Heartless there. But Hades is also summoning the bunch of Titans to try and take over the whole place as well, because Hades is up to no good. Pete and Maleficent also make a weird appearance in the Olympus world here at the start, and they're looking for the box, which becomes a really big plot line.
Is it weird because it doesn't end up meaning anything, or is it weird? Did you think it was weird that they showed up?
No, because when they said the box, I pretty much knew what they were probably was going to be about. Not because I played, and I want to get deep into this when we get to the end here.
Yeah, okay.
But like, it's not because I know what it's from, because it's from the mobile game. It's a thing, because the mobile game goes all into the prologue, Kingdom Hearts stuff. That's where most of this lore is tackled. It's a little bit tackled in other games, but it's mostly from that. So when they're talking about a box, because that's important in that game and lore-wise and stuff, I'm like, I think that's what they're on about. So then I kept thinking, was actually that box is going to tie into it, but of course it never does. So looking back on the game, knowing that Maleficent and Pete never really have anything to do with the plot at all, their appearance here is just to set up Kingdom Hearts 4. And
let's be honest, it's not going to be called Kingdom Hearts 4. It's going to be Kingdom Hearts 3.16.
Probably, yeah. So, yeah, I do find their appearance, looking back on it, just kind of weird. As for people, especially since the box and its reason for existing and all these sorts of things, not only from a side Kingdom Hearts game, but such a really obscure thing as the the mobile game. It's not even like the Vita
maybe
game,
not,
the DS
because
games.
it comes into play later. So
Yeah.
they obviously don't think it's
comes
obscure.
hugely into play later. Is the thing? It's I don't know. It's really quite weird. So yeah, they're there looking for the box. Then we get Zigbar showing up here as well at one point, and he basically the eye patch guy with the pointer. Yes, for those playing bingo at home, he shows up and he basically gives away his true identity, which becomes a huge big deal later towards the end of the game, and it's only a big deal if you've played the mobile game as well, because it's like such a thing. So overall, Olympus as a world thematically makes sense for Sora to go there. There's a lot of stuff happening in this world in retrospect that is setting up lots of stuff to do with the very end of the game, but you don't know that at the time. And as a world overall, I found it to be kind of meh and basically a tutorial level. Like, how do you feel about Olympus in this game?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, you fought the giant titans and stuff. That was pretty cool. But yeah. I mean, yeah, it was mostly tutorial, but I thought it was definitely an improvement on the last game where you played for 5 hours and then you finally got into the actual game. This was short. You got straight into the action.
That's true.
Definitely a step up.
But I will say,
even though the first one, that one took forever to get started as well. So,
I in retrospect, looking back at this game and comparing it to 1 and 2, and I think this is a whole topic and stuff, I much prefer 2 because, like, even that, I know people complain and hate that 3-hour opening thing. I don't. Because it's story, and the story's more spread out properly throughout the whole game. Whereas this game seems to be made in a backlash to people complaining about that and just being like, here's funnel all the Disney shit and action stuff at the start, and then we'll put all of our actual story stuff at the end, kind of.
Yes.
Like,
I don't know. I just felt like it was not, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's been a while since I played Kingdom Hearts 2, but it definitely... I preferred this.
Fair enough. So next world we travel off to is Twilight Town after this, which, although I think it looks better than ever, I felt like it was also a lot emptier than previous games. It just kind of, I think that's partly in the fact that you can climb a lot of walls.
This was only in its Kingdom Hearts 2 though, right?
Mm. Well, slight appearances elsewhere, but if you want to talk main series, then Kingdom Hearts 2. But even Kingdom Hearts 2, and I think the problem is because it tries to tell you it's a lot more open. Like, you can climb the walls of buildings, but then you climb the top and there's a gate and you can't do anything. So it just feels very, like, it's trying to look bigger than what it is. And then when you realize it's actually a lot smaller and there's really not that much to do or play with around there, it's came off kind of weird to me, I suppose. But here we discover I'm covering what happens throughout the game kind of here, but throughout the game, we get calls back to Chippendale and stuff that's happening. Ienzo and others that the organization had been forming, and this is where we get into Solitaire. This where so Organization 13 in Kingdom Hearts 3 is made up of versions of themselves from the past, which have traveled to the future, and then they have put their hearts into replica bodies, much like they did with Replica Riku, which was from Chamber Memories and a couple other things, but replicas.
Well, some of them have.
Yeah, well, the majority of them, though. Like, all the original ones and all these sorts of things that you thought you had handled. Obviously,
it's that I just didn't follow. I mean, it's, to be honest, it's really not that important. It's just that the enemy is there. That was what was important.
Yeah, I suppose. But if you're like, how is this person still here? Surely I killed them or something like that. It's like, yeah, they're coming from the past to the future. And yeah, it's like, if you only play Kingdom Hearts 2, you miss the whole time travel thing, which is basically introduced in Dream Drop Distance and something else maybe, but mainly in that, which is where they cover how Xehanort actually manages to zigzag across time and split his heart into a heartless nobody, all these sorts of things, and that's all to do with time travel. And time travel in Kingdom Hearts universe basically works that it's the heart that travels. So I'm pretty sure they sum it up with, in Kingdom Hearts 1, when Sora goes inside that room there with the door, and then there's a person with like an organization cloak on talking to him.
Yeah.
And nothing. Yeah, that's just a heart. That's a heart and nothing. Nobody. That's just a heart wearing a cloak. That's what's happening there. That's going for the future. But that's a whole thing. Okay, so put the heads of things. We also learned that inside Sora, he most likely has Roxas's heart inside him, alongside 2 other hearts, which I kind of did laugh out loud a little bit when there was like, there's like 3 hearts inside you. I was like, shit, he's got a lot of room inside him to have 3 plus 1 hearts going. That's the title of the next game, 3 plus 1 hearts over 312 days. So this leads him onto a
4
mission.
hearts, 1 vessel.
4 hearts, 1 vessel. It leads him onto a quest where he basically wants to get his own replica to be able to put Roxas's heart into it and save him. So the other thing you can do in Twilight Town is cook with Little Chef, if that's a mini game that you...
Which is Remy from Ratatouille.
Yes.
I didn't realise.
Yeah, Remy from Ratatouille, although I just find it funny because every time Goofy, it's like, oh, see what Little Chef can cook up with thee, Little Chef. Or fucking Donald running around the whole game. I bet we can find some fucking ingredients here. I'm like, oh my God.
Barely used any of the cuisine stuff.
Yeah.
I cooked it, didn't use it.
I didn't use anything. I cooked up something when I first got there, and then I never bothered touching it again. Maybe if he was playing on harder difficulty and you needed like the bonuses and the defensive stuff off the stat bonuses for him, like that's why it's there. But playing it normally, I was like, these aren't things I actually need to care about, so I didn't bother fucking around with it at all. But I suppose it's a thing, Little Chef.
I know.
Like.
There's like, it is a bunch of like fun sort of cooking-ish mini games.
Yeah.
It's like really simple, like move the controllers left and right and then hit buttons when it's the right time. So I don't know. It's pretty basic. But,
yeah. All right. Next world is the Toy Box world, which is Woody plus friends looking for some of their missing friends. And their friends may or may not have been taken to a duplicate world.
Let me just stay off the start. I swear to God, I thought there was an ad for a new Square Enix game at the beginning of this.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Which... It's so weird looking back kind of in retrospective because we'll tackle the secret movie at the end of this, but how important that fake game potentially can become in the future of Kingdom Hearts is kind of ridiculous to me. And also the fact that the fake game that we see when we open this, which is a game that Rex is playing, which when you get the reveal, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, Rex is playing a video game because, Toy Story... He's playing the game with Buzz and Zorg and all that. It's like Rex plays video games. This is the thing. But when it starts, I'm just like, you're very confused. You're like, is this really an ad for a game, a Final Fantasy game or something? But it looks so similar to Kingdom Hearts Versus 13, which is basically what I think it's supposed to be because Nomura was doing that game and then got kicked off it or something along those lines. And then they changed it.
You mean Final Fantasy
15 is what they changed it to. But when the game was originally announced and shown, it was known as Versus 13, and it looked way different than what 15 ended up being. You called it
Kingdom Hearts Versus 13.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, well, sure. That's what it's called in this one, Kingdom Hearts Versus 13. So, yeah, that was the whole thing. Yeah, so organization duplicating worlds may have taken their friends, and then you end up saving Buzz, who... young Xehanort is the organization member in this world, and there's also a lot of mech fighting in this world. So yeah, what do you think of the Toy Box world overall and seeing the Toy Story characters?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I think it was difficult because obviously they didn't get Tom Hanks and Tim Allen the voice, which was very off-putting, I felt, and just didn't at times sound like them at all. I mean, the worlds look very cool. I mean, this world sort of introduced the verticality, I think, that they were trying to push in this game as well. So a lot of vertical things. And then the mechs, it was a fun, like, sort of detour, I guess.
I feel like he needed to use them too. Like, I nearly died several times and would have to jump into one to basically save my life. So they really push that you need to use them to be able to do this level, I feel. Yeah.
Well, they were just training you because then there was a massive door spider where it's...
That's true. Yeah, they train you up for that game thing. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think I kind of agree with the problem is, as much as they sound like Tom Hanks, it's like it's not, and you know it's not. And it's like it's a really good impression of Tom Hanks, but Tom Hanks is such a prolific actor that it's really hard to pull off a good one. I feel so. But
Yeah.
it's Toy Story, but most of the other characters were actually done by the proper actors and sound good. So,
Yeah.
you know, like Rex. And,
Which kind of made it worse.
yeah, I guess, yeah. Like Rex and Ham and stuff sound like
Yeah, they all sound great.
real
And
actors
then-
and great. The aliens, you know, there's actually that real funny part where they come in and they're like, whatever, like when Sora's come there, and that was quite good. So,
Yeah.
also, if you want to put them into boxes, this is one of the worlds that has an original story. And then, of course, the next world we're going to get to in a second is just like telling the story of the movie. And
Yeah.
so I enjoyed that at least this world was an original Toy Story story and a story that makes sense. Like for Buzz to be so scared about becoming a mindless toy and not a toy with its own conscience. Like he's basically scared about becoming a normal toy and not like a toy with the conscience to make his own choices and decisions and stuff. And I feel like thematically that makes a lot of sense for the Toy Story brand, and also that story fitted in really well to the Kingdom Hearts world, like being able to have choices and these sorts of things. So I don't feel like the story was super strong, but thematically what they were going for and stuff, I felt like it fitted in really well to both Kingdom Hearts and Toy Story for their separate characters and stuff. So that was good. Next world, Kingdom of Corona, the beer, is really pretty green landscapes that you get to travel on, and also it's probably I reckon it's the best looking just because of all the green, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like it's not to say other worlds look worse, but it's like this world with lots of green and stuff compared to when we get to Frozen, which I'm not saying Frozen looks bad, but I just think because it is just all white and snow and stuff, it doesn't stand out as a
that's probably a fair statement.
You know, like
it's the prettiest, yeah.
Really good. It follows the plot of Tangled and like to a T. Closely. To the point. It's like to a T, but of course they're skipping lots of stuff because they don't have the time. But it's also really weird it's one of those things, kind of like the Frozen one and even like the Pirates Caribbean and stuff when we get to those, is that if you haven't seen the movie, I doubt how much you would understand what's actually happening here because they literally skip a part where they explain how he learns, what's his real name?
Eugene.
It's like, suddenly she's calling him Eugene and it's like, where did she learn that? And you'd be really confused unless you've seen the movie and then like subconsciously you're putting together the plot point you're up to in the game compared to the movie, I suppose. But
which I felt they didn't do as much in the previous games.
Yeah. In the previous games, I feel like they made it easier to follow, actually. Like they just streamlined it and kept in the parts that were necessary for the player to understand what's happening, even if they hadn't seen it, I guess. But overall, I enjoyed it. I do find that it doesn't, because of the things with the movie and skipping some storyline stuff and these sorts of things, it's a little bit weird. It's really pretty there at the end where they get to the lanterns all floating across the river and a lake or whatever it is there. That's really nice to look at. The boss fight at the end of this one, I quite enjoyed the tower monster thing because you have that really wide open area to chase it around and stuff, and that was quite a good boss fight, I thought. Because considering most of the boss fights in this game end up taking place in parts that are like devoured by darkness and stuff. Yeah, so it was nice that this one is it's a heartless, but you're still in the green, lush world of Tangled and the building there and these sorts of things. Got any thoughts? Any more thoughts on the Tangled world?
No, it was really pretty. They had this weird. I found it weird that they did a dancing minigame in the middle for some reason.
I feel like
let's do. There is so many mini games just thrown into this game for like 5 minutes with their own tutorial screen and everything. It's odd.
It is really odd because they never come back.
Everything's got a high score meter. Yeah, it's odd.
Like, let me spend 5 minutes teaching you this minigame that you're only going to do once and never have to know how to do ever again. But that's fine. It's a thing.
And again, the plot points skipped over, mostly that she's got healing hair. I feel like that.
Yeah, they never bring that up, do they? That's a good point. I didn't actually realize that. And then at the end, they just cut it and stuff. And it's like, But because I've seen the movie, I didn't really think about it. But you're right. Yeah, they never talk about that, I guess. Weird.
Yeah.
It's really weird. It's so funny though, because when you look at it, it's like it's a game that's so gonna piss. If you don't follow all of the Kingdom Hearts games, you're already struggling on that storyline front. But then they're also making it harder to follow any Disney movies that you may not have seen. So it's like you need to have played every Kingdom Hearts game and you need to have watched every fucking Disney movie. And if you can't tick all those boxes, this game's going to be hard for you to follow at all.
I feel like Tangled's probably the least known one out of all the ones they've done in this game.
In this game,
I feel like it wasn't as much of a hit as the other ones, but
probably I'd agree. Yeah, I think that's right. I'd probably agree with that. All right, so next one is Monstropolis, which doesn't feature any Heartless. It's the only world that doesn't feature any Heartless in this game, which I thought was good. So it features the Inverse, which were introduced.
What the fuck is the Inverse?
They were introduced in Birth by Sleep and were the enemies in Birth by Sleep because, of course, Birth by Sleep is a prequel. There were no Heartless then because Xehanort hadn't released the Heartless at that point. So the Inverse are basically enemies that feed off negative emotions and appear in places where there is heavy negative emotions. So thematically, I think it makes sense that the Inverse would appear in a place that once was and still may be full of cans of scares because it's a negative emotion. So I think putting all that into perspective, I think it was a smart move that actually makes sense. Like to have Inverse here as the enemies in a world where they were doing scares and stuff. It's also this story.
It's weird to bring in a whole new. For people who hadn't played that, just breaking the whole.
This whole game is a whole thing of if you've only played 1 or 2, this game is a fucking struggle. And at one point, this game is basically more of a sequel to Birth by Sleep than Kingdom Hearts 2, more so than anything. When we get to that, so. I enjoyed this world though. I thought this one was good. I thought it had a bunch of cool things happening. I also really enjoyed that it was the Inverse, not the Heartless, because then of course it stands out from the rest of the worlds, just having a different enemy type and variations that weren't just Heartless monsters. They stand out. I also really enjoy all the Monsters Inc. characters. I enjoy that movie quite a lot, so I enjoyed hanging around with them. And I think the story that it tells with Randall being the enemy and him getting saved by Vanitas base is basically hinted at, it seems, from when he's chucked into the door and brought back, and then he's trying to take over the place. It's a sequel to the first movie. Is the thing, like story wise, I suppose. Like
the only canon sequel we've gotten.
Yeah, like not canon story wise, but it's setting in the timeline. It's a sequel, kind of like the Big Hero.
It could have been improved if Sully was wearing a tie. Just saying.
Could have been. And also, Boo's in it, and she's cute at all points in time, so that's also quite good. But, do you have any other thoughts before I quickly go over the Vanitas thing?
No, it was kind of, it was always moving. You're just constantly getting through the stage. It was cool doing the slidey things over the door worlds, like the door things. I wish there'd been a bit more of doing that, I guess. There's all these fires and stuff.
Which I activated the water
the splash fountain thing.
Yeah, and then I purposely, if you go over them all, you can put out the fires with it.
All the fires, yeah.
Yeah, so that works out nice.
Only time it was useful.
Basically, yes. So towards the end of this, Vanitas shows up and makes an appearance owning Sora. If you'd never played any of the other games and you're like, hey, that looks like Riku from the first game and where I fought him in the end of his armor, it's like, it does look like that, doesn't it? That is true. But his whole revelation basically leads to Sora realizing the fact that one of the other hearts inside him is probably the heart of Ventus, which is one of the 3 guardians from Birth by Sleep. And if you don't know, Vanitas is a split of Ventus. Like Xehanort split them into 2 basically. Like a fully positive and a negative version is basically the quick boil down of how that all works out. And then there's a thing later in the game where he looks a lot like Sora, and we're not getting into that because that's a whole fucking his heart lived inside him, so it took the form. Don't even get me fucking started. I can't.
Yeah.
The next world
also, one more thing. I like that they chucked Randall back into the same door.
Yeah, so then it is canon because like if they do a sequel to this movie and Randall appears, who's to say that this didn't take place between the first and second Monsters Inc. movie, you know?
Yeah, he got thrown back into that trailer park.
Who's to say?
Yeah, they got made into boots.
Yeah, and you hear that person again, that Gator is back. Yeah, that was quite good.
Then Sora locks the door, something he never does again in the entire game.
That's true. He uses his Keyblade for once. But I he locks the door, chucks it, and then doesn't not Sully. Fuck, what's his name? What's the other one? Mike, yeah, sorry. Mike Wazowski. Mike chucks it in another door and another door, another door, another door, and then they shred them all. I'm like, holy shit, that's some hardcore locking going on there. Also, I want to point out that I haven't watched Monsters Inc. for quite a few years, and playing this world made me really want to watch Monsters Inc. So,
yeah,
bit of cross promotion there, works out quite well. Next world is Arendelle, which is the one world I hadn't actually watched the movie for until a couple days up to release, and I made sure to watch Frozen. And boy, am I glad I watched Frozen before doing this, because much like the Tangled world, I feel like if you haven't watched the movie, you'd be playing this going,
what the fuck is going on?
what the fuck is happening? Like, I don't understand. Like, a little bit of plot, there's a song, a little bit of plot, there's a singing. What's happening? So, yeah, I was very glad that I watched Frozen before this. Overall, I feel like this world probably has the least going on for it. Like, story-wise, simply because it follows the movie's plot, and it's just okay. And then also the organization member who I think it's like, I can't remember actually who it is, but like doesn't have anything big happening with them either. So it's like a meh world. I thought it was fine, but nothing super interesting. I do actually legit like that they had the songs included. I like that, and I legit wish that Tangled had songs as well. But I think this world stands out weirder because it has the songs, whereas Tangled doesn't have the songs, which is weird. But it's even weirder, as you pointed out to me when we were talking about this like a week ago, that they hadn't done like Nightmare Before Christmas songs or anything like that. So it's like, why just this world? I presume
because it's the biggest freaking thing they've got.
Yeah, I legit feel like the more I thought about it and heard some stuff, it's like I feel like Disney was like, you have to, if you're going to use this world, we'll let you. You have to put the songs in it. That's it. The kids love the songs. You got to have the songs in it. So yeah, but
I don't know if it would work without the songs.
It's probably true. Maybe.
She's just running up a mountain.
Yeah. Why?
It's kind of boring.
Yeah. Yeah. Got any other thoughts on Frozen Arendelle?
It's fine. Yeah. I liked what's the snow monster?
I can't remember his name, but yeah.
There's something funny.
Although I found it weird that your companion is that snow monster and not actually any of the characters at all.
Yeah, that's
odd.
You can't team up with Elsa, and she's the only one with superpowers. So.
I don't care. Just make someone else be able to fight. What's the dude's name? Surely he can fight a little bit.
Yeah, Olaf. No,
Olaf is the snow.
Sven.
Sven. No, it's the horse. That's the horse, isn't it?
Oh,
yeah, make the horse fight. Make the horse fight. That's fine. Yeah. Make that. That's
it's
the thing.
Deer.
That's what we're going. Is it a deer? Okay, sorry. That's the thing.
I can't believe they spent a good 15 minutes trying to find Olaf's body.
That was the worst fucking part of this game, actually. Probably. I couldn't find the last body part, and I kept walking around and around and around. I was like, "This is fucking shit. Why are we doing this?"
There was some using.
Yeah, he put his body on the giant snowball. I did that, and he's like, "I'm so big now." It's like, no, I don't think this is right. Yeah, so, but I was still like, why are we doing a random fetch quest in the middle of this game all of a sudden when you don't do it ever? I don't know. It was really weird. This game is literally just like a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this. It's got really no consistency to gameplay elements at all across all parts.
They chuck in a freaking snowboarding thing.
Yeah,
going down a mountain.
Yeah,
never do that again.
And I mean, in a moment, it's like, hey. Have a wide open ocean. Upgrade your ship. That's the thing. So after this, though, you get the chance to go into the 100-acre wood, which is the least important, I think, the 100-acre book has ever been in this franchise. It's basically go in there, say hi, and, you know, I love Pooh. I love all the Winnie the Pooh characters and stuff. So it was really great to see them. But I think, like, taking that aside and looking back at it, it's like, this feels just forced in just for the sake of having them in there because it's just mini games. It's just a couple mini games.
Match 3 games. That was it.
Yep. Go for it. You don't have to collect pages. You don't have to come back. Really weird. But I got to see Eeyore. The Heffalump shows up. So that was cool. No, I mean, sorry. I didn't get to see Eeyore, which was sad. But the Heffalump showed up, which was cool. So
it was adorable. Yeah.
That's a world that exists for a reason. Actually, it doesn't exist for a reason. It exists so people like me can go and take selfies, and that's about it. Story-wise, there's really no reason.
Can we touch on that? That phone thing was like really weird as well.
I suppose, yeah, we didn't touch on that.
That's really why they waited to bring this game out, so Instagram had been invented first.
It is really weird how heavy they go on it too. Like, the Instagram loading screens, the fact Sora it seems oblivious to this phone and it'll be ringing and they'll be like, "That's your phone, Sora," and you'll be like, "Oh, it is too," and then you'll answer it like it's a newly invented technology that's only just come around, and then they're like, "Oh, we've got selfie cams." It is literally like Nomura only got a phone himself a couple years ago. It's basically how it comes across. It is quite odd.
Smartphones, they're great.
Yeah, it's
Let's put him in the game.
let's do it. Let's do what's necessary. It's fine. I took some pictures, selfies and stuff. Of course I did. From the aspect of, hey, you don't really care too much about the Kingdom Hearts lore and stuff like that. It's you just care about interacting with Disney characters and these sorts of things. I think it's a fun part to have, to be able to take selfies and pictures of all these characters, because all their character models look great. It's a really beautiful game. It looks as good as the movies do and stuff. So to be able to have a camera that you can take selfies and pictures of and stuff, it's handy. It's nice. It doesn't make or break the game, of course, but it's a nice feature. The Instagram loading screens are really weird, like hashtag darkness. It's like, why the fuck is Riku in the world of darkness? And he's just down there like, hashtag looking for Aqua, hashtag. Like, what is going on?
Who's following him though?
He's setting him up on a tripod off in the distance and taking the
no, but
picture.
who's following the Instagrams?
The Heartless? I don't just Sora? Fuck, I don't know. It's really weird. Well, actually, no, Sora wouldn't have been following it. He acts like he only just got understood what phones are. It's really weird. All right, anyway. Next world is the Caribbean Sea, returning to from Kingdom Hearts 2, of course. Sora and all that turn up. They arrive. They fall off the waterfall. Then they bump into one Captain Jack Sparrow, of course, not voiced by Johnny Depp. No one in this, I believe, is voiced by the actual characters, I don't think so, anyway. As far as I'm aware. And this is the thing. So the movie plot, or the plot for the Caribbean world in this is they're doing a fight against Davy Jones. Now, as someone who doesn't like the films apart from the first one, and to the point where I feel like the sequels kind of ruined my thoughts about the first one a bit. Yeah. Is this not the plot for the third film, I think, yes?
It is the third film, yeah.
Oh, okay. So
because at the end of the second film, he gets taken to that land world.
That's what I thought, yeah.
There on, yeah.
Okay. I feel like this world, and I know we've just been saying, hey, if you haven't watched the film for Frozen or Tangled, you may be a little bit confused. Yeah. But I feel like this world is the most confusing to play without having watched the film out of all of them.
Yeah. Well, this is the one I don't remember the most, so this is the most difficult one to follow along with.
Mm-hmm. I feel like, because what you're having is Kingdom Hearts, already a really confusing game to follow. Everyone knows that. You're then adding in the plot and world of a game that is really fucking confusing and convoluted and weird, which is what the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise got to by the end. Like, I remember watching the third film and going, what the fuck is going on anymore? Because it got so convoluted with its plot and lore and, the characters dying, not dead, spirits, living forever, destined to stay inside ships, all these sorts of things. So it's like adding two very confusing properties together just makes for one very fucking confusing mess. Also in this world, Luxord is the organization member that makes an appearance, the one with the cards and stuff, if you're playing bingo at home, which was also the person who made the appearance in the Kingdom Hearts 2. He was also the person who turned up here as well, so that all makes sense. Very good. We got all that to work. He's looking for the black box again. That's the thing that turns up again. He's like, I'm looking for a black box. And at this point, when I'm playing this, I'm like, for sure it's going to be a big part of the plot. But looking back, once again, in retrospective, basically the entire plot for this world is just set up for a future game. No, it's nothing to do with this at all. So it's looking back, I'm like, no, I don't like this. Like, there's so much unnecessary stuff just to set up future games. I don't know how I feel about it too well. Gameplay wise, it's a fun world. I enjoy the ship combat stuff and all that sort of stuff. It's pretty. I still find it really fucking weird to the point I was laughing out loud at my screen several times playing it, because much like in Kingdom Hearts 2, and even worse now because the graphics are better, seeing Donald and Goofy standing next to characters that are like real life human live action like Sora can kind of get away with it a little bit, not quite. He still obviously looks like a cartoon, but even worse, just seeing long shots. There's a part at the end where I can't remember who's like giving a giant speech to a bunch of people on the ship or someone, and then I just see Goofy in the background like standing there like like, and I was just like, oh, I can't take anything that's happening serious right now. Yeah, what are your thoughts on the Caribbean world?
Yeah, I think I like this one a lot. Obviously, they had that underwater part, which was much better than any underwater part.
Still shit though.
It was still not fun. Yeah. Yeah. I enjoyed like the ship thing combat. I thought it was pretty solid. I mean, I had a good time. I didn't like the racing stuff. That was annoying.
Oh yeah, I actually, if you want to talk about died, I technically failed that the first time, so
yeah,
I had to do it twice.
I don't count that. That wasn't combat. It was just
yeah.
And then the finding the crabs thing. I mean,
oh, that was fucking terrible.
Yeah,
I was like, why?
it was just annoying. I'm like, dear God, please don't let there be only 300 crabs here.
That was my worry at first.
Thank God there was more than 3.
By the time I found 300, as soon as I walked out to the next area, I just, of course, found 100 more on my way back to the ship. So it's like, oh God, but I think it's I don't know. Looking at it, the ship stuff I like. The ship combat stuff I found fun to do. I saw some people online being like, oh, it's so hard and stuff. I'm like, you're just not realizing that you're supposed to shoot the bubble points on the side of the ship because
there's like a lantern thing.
Yeah, it's like shoot those. That's what does damage. I thought it was
critical damage.
Yeah, I thought it was simple, but apparently a lot of people have been struggling to put it all together. And also, one thing I really liked about this world is that it does something that none of the other worlds do, apart from Big Hero, I think, which is that you actually fight someone that's just not a throwaway, heartless, fucking villain thing. Or, you know, like all the other worlds, the last boss is just some mindless.
Yeah.
Heartless thing that's created, whereas I much preferred it in the other games where you was at the end fighting like Disney villains or organization members or something that with some sort of substance, if it wasn't actually the villain of that particular world, which had been powered up by an organization member, powered up by Maleficent or something like that to be able to let them fight. At the end of this one, you are actually fighting David Jones, so that was good. That actually I like that more because up until this point, it's like mindless heartless thing, mindless heartless thing, mindless heartless thing, you know, so which is really, and another reason why I'm like, can we not spread out some of the organization members to the other worlds and have you fight them there, you know, spread them like, I don't know.
Go save them.
Got to save them so you can have that one shot at the end of the game without walking up, which is cool, and I'll point it out again when we get to it. It is very cool, but
I mean, you could still fight them and not defeat them.
Yeah, I still feel like if there was only fucking 6 of them left at the end of the game, if they were still walking up like that, it would still be like, oh, this is cool. Like, here's the final fight. I don't feel like having 13 really makes that big of a difference by the end of the game. Unless he needs them all to die there to be able to get their. He doesn't need them to die there. I don't think to get their key, like to get their hearts for the thing. I don't think
sure that was the thing. They needed to fight there so they could unlock the keys.
Maybe they do. Okay, well, just have them fight throughout the game, but not actually die. You know?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah,
that would have been fun.
You're right. You should have made the game, Ash. You should have made that.
Yeah,
you should have made the game, Ash.
You know, you need me for the new one.
Yeah, you'll be around for the next 40 years before they put out next game. So we'll see how you go.
Hopefully.
Next world is Big Hero 6 or San Francisco. See Sora team up with the Big Hero 6 team, of course. The plot for this one is post the movie. So this is after the end of that, which is also nice, which means that the story for this is actually an original story, not just following the plot of the movie. And I enjoyed that. The city is this giant... here's something. It's like it presents an open worldish area to explore, but the fact is there's really nothing to do, you know?
Yeah.
Which is...
Let me just say here, this world made me realize how much I hate the traversal in this game.
Yeah?
Yeah, I just had I was continually frustrated trying to get around the world. Yeah. Just the quick step thing they're trying to introduce, it just never quite worked.
Yeah.
And then,
all I know is I failed horribly. I couldn't figure out when you have to save all the Big Hero 6 members, they're all trapped in different things. And I ran out of time the first time because I couldn't click onto what I was supposed to do to get the person out of the rolling bolt thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize, jump on one of the other balls and run it into them. Yeah, I didn't click onto that first. I'm running around mindlessly chasing them, going, what the fuck? Like, how am I supposed to get this person out of here? But, I thought this world was fun. Getting to see Baymax go up to Sora and be like, ba la la la. That was the highlight of the That was the highlight of the world for me personally, because that's my favorite thing from the Big Hero 6 is just the knuckles and the
Yeah.
That's the best part of the whole movie. But it looked good. It looked great, animation wise, beautiful characters.
Yeah.
I think it's all the same voice actors for the most part that I'm aware of.
So.
Pretty sure it's all of them. So that's cool.
Most
They're
of
all
them,
back. And then I feel like the story within this one is also really cool because it ties in to the end of it, of course, with the old Baymax being brought back to life from the organization member dragging it out of the void, and then you have to fight the old Baymax. So like it has emotional ties for the Big Hero 6 characters and these sorts of things.
Yeah.
Although I did find the last boss fight weird because you have to do the entire thing on Baymax, which means that it's like the only boss fight in the whole game that you can't, like, if you were doing really, really bad at and you suck at the game, you could at least go farm up and get better at it. But because the fight takes entirely on the back of Baymax, it's like it's skill reliant somewhat, I guess. You actually have to be able to hit stuff. Yeah.
Farming up would still help.
A little bit,
health-wise,
yeah. What are your thoughts overall on this one then?
Other than traversal is pretty great. I had a good time. I mean, it looks good, fun. The story, I like the story of the thing where he has to stay back because somebody needs to be running things from the garage or whatever. And then it was cool just seeing how it all panned out, and they end up with 2 Baymaxes.
Yeah, that's going to carry over into the sequel for sure.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Imagine that the movie just starts.
Oh my God, there's 2.
Wink, wink, wink. Where's this connect? We all know. Yeah. All right. So before jumping into the final section of the game and the last couple worlds in quotation marks, I guess, that are in the last third, got to quickly cover, I guess, the things that is you do throughout these other worlds at a point. You flash backwards and forwards. There are parts where you meet up. You play as Riku, and then you also see Riku and King Mickey, and they're doing a bunch of stuff throughout these other worlds. To the point they're researching inside the realm of darkness because they're trying to find Aqua in there, Master Aqua in there.
But they need the 7 Guardians of Light, and they've only got 4.
Yeah, well, they need
5.
Aqua, Terra, and Ventus are the original 3, which they know exist. Yeah. And they know. And King
which
Mickey,
game are they? They're from Birth by
Sleep. Yeah, and King Mickey knows them because Birth by Sleep is only 10 years prior to Kingdom Hearts 1 ish, 10ish years, I think, something like that. So
yeah,
that's how long Aqua has. And at the end of Birth by Sleep, Aqua tries to save Terra from being turned into Xehanort's lackey and taken over by darkness. So she thinks she's saving him by chucking him outside. He gets trapped in the realm of darkness. She goes in, chucks him out, thinks she saved him and trapped herself, but then he gets control of Terra anyway. So Aqua's trapped in the world of darkness after that. Also, I think canon-wise, when they went back, I think canon-wise at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, when King Mickey is inside the realm of darkness, when you open that door at the end of that game, I think now within canon, Aqua's supposed to be there somewhere in the background, but you just don't see her because they hadn't done that yet. But I think canon-wise, it's now Aqua's there somewhere, just kind of over in the the corner there. You just don't see her.
She was just ducking down when the camera was.
That's something along those lines. Yeah. So at this point, and they've been failing to find Aqua. And then other important things are Ansem was also in there, Realm of Darkness with Aqua. But then at some point, Ansem the Wise is in there with Aqua.
The actual Ansem.
Actual Ansem the Wise is in there. At some point, Ansem, the Heartless Ansem, comes in, kidnaps Ansem the Wise, takes him the fuck out of there, and afflicts Aqua with darkness and turns Aqua basically into Dark Aqua, I guess is what we'll call her from now on. Vexen, the organization member, though, helps get Ansem the Wise back from the organization after the free trio of Twilight Town kids start a fight with him as he's trying to take Ansem the Wise to the mansion in Twilight Town. They start a fight with him. Then nobody's come in, and then that's because Vexen set them in.
I like how none of the organization make any effort at all try to get recapture Ansem.
No, after this, they're like, oh, fuck it, I guess he's gone.
Oh, fuck, he got away.
Yeah, it's like, that's it. Plan's over. What can we do? Yeah, but
bring your millions of Heartless down on Twilight Town.
Nah, fuck it, not worth it.
No.
So that then the good guys get Ansem the Wise back because Vexen delivers Ansem the Wise to Ienzo and whoever else is there, and also delivers a replica, like a replica body without nothing inside it, which is important for future reasons.
Yeah.
Though at the time I believe it's like delivering it as a body for Roxas is the purpose, I think. Also, throughout these couple of worlds, we see a couple cutscenes where we get to see Kyrie and Lee, which is Axel, organization member Axel, but this is actually not the nobody. This is the actual person named Lee before he was turned into a... Axel was his nobody, and they're training to become...
Can we just say people don't die in this game very easily?
No, they don't. it's the thing. So they're training to become Keyblade Masters, but we never actually see them do any sort of training at all. In fact, anytime we see them, it's just Lee producing ice creams out of 10
he loves that ice cream.
Out of his pockets.
It's his one defining trait about him. Ice creams.
It's also really weird because I just find it weird that... I don't know, it's a whole thing, I guess, but it's him, but he still holds on to some thoughts or characters of Axel, and he's still wearing the same clothes, but he doesn't have the eye marks, but he still kind of talks like him. It's a whole thing, but
it's a whole thing.
All right. So with all that said, we can now drive into the final third of the game, which basically what begins with, I call the sequel to the Birth by Sleep section, which is where they do a whole heap of shit that people who play Kingdom Hearts 2 and only Kingdom Hearts 2 would have no fucking idea what's going on. And all of this stuff is, literally just a sequel to Birth by Sleep and finish up plot lines from the end of that game. So, Sora, after mindlessly wandering around all these worlds that we just went through, he's like, oh, fuck, where the hell should I go next? Let me listen to my heart and see where that takes me. And it leads him to the Destiny Islands, where, on the beach, he finds Master Arakius's Keyblade, who is a character from Birth by Sleep also, and is Master Xehanort's friend, which you will see at the start of this game as the two kids playing chess. Master Arakius...
A chess-like game.
Yes, a chess-like... Yeah, well. Master Arakius is the person who was training Aqua, Ventus, Terra, and he was struck down and killed in Birth by Sleep, is the thing. But he finds his Keyblade there on the beach because reasons. I don't really know if there was an explanation ever. If there is, I'm sure someone smarter than me, as I said, hardcore Kingdom Hearts fucking nerds, I'm sure, have an answer, but I don't. Using it, Sora reveals a door, the same door that is in Kingdom Hearts 1 that he goes into, of course, sees Kairi, and then Kairi's blown through him, and that's how he gets Kairi's heart inside him in Kingdom Hearts 1. That whole thing, that happens there. He drops down through that door into the darkness just as time because Mickey just got his fucking ass handed to him by Aqua and the Heartless Swarm, and then Riku's also getting his ass handed to him by Evil Aqua, or Dark Aqua, whatever we refer to her as. And then Sora goes in to kick Aqua's ass and save it. And this fight I thought was pretty fucking epic, to be honest. Thematically, the way everything looks and like doing the fight, I thought it was a very cool fight. And facing off against someone else using a Keyblade, I thought was also just, it's cool.
At this point, it was novel.
Yeah, I suppose. But I don't know, thematically, it was cool. Especially, I suppose it means more if you know the characters is the thing.
Yeah.
That type of thing. Because it could be, and I'm sure this is going to be emotional to people who have attachment to the trio of the characters from Birth by Sleep, because she's been in there for 10 years and now she's been surviving that long, and now she's going to turn darkness and all these sorts of things. And I thought it was a really good fight. But what was your thoughts as someone who hasn't played or didn't know anything about Birth by Sleep or these characters and have no attachment to them or anything like that?
Yeah, it was fine. It was cool. I mean, obviously, they sort of build up Aqua as someone you feel sorry for, and there's a couple of cutscenes with her in it. So you sort of do have some sort of attachment if you haven't played any of the games. But yeah, it was just a fine boss battle. I mean, not too difficult, I guess.
I think I nearly died a couple times though. She's like, "You fucking hurt, Aqua. Calm down. What are you doing over there?" Yeah. I thought it was really cool. So once Sora beats crap out of her, they drag her back to Destiny Islands beach, and then she comes back to life there. It's like, yay, roll saved.
Yeah, that was a nice emotional moment.
That was good. She thought she was dead, and she's saved though. And also, I just think she's been trapped literally in basically hell, more or less, for 10 years, and now she's out in the real world again. So I feel when you look at it like hell versus real world or something, it's like, imagine just coming out of that and being like, wow, I'm free again, finally. Thank you so much. straight away though, she's like, okay, cool, we got to go save Ventus. So they head on over to oh, fuck, what? I've already forgot.
The land of departure.
Thank you. I was like, what the fuck is it? Yes, thank you. I was like, mental blanking. It only took about an hour or whatever, however long we've been going, but it was about to happen at some point. I was like, I lost myself and then I couldn't remember what was going on. But so they go to Castle Oblivion, which is the tower that she used to cover up where the land of departure is. So the land of departure is where they were from. And then at the end of Birth by Sleep, she places Ventus's body there to save him and keep him hidden. And then that's where he's obviously been slumbering ever since. So they go there. And then, of course, Vanitas turns up, little troublemaker that he is. Aqua gets into a fight. You get to play as Aqua at this part, so that was pretty cool, I thought, to play as Aqua was cool, and she feels powerful. I felt like the fight was very easy. It's just meant to be easy though. Like she's kicking his ass a bit, so that was cool. Sora though then gets the power of waking finally, and brings Ventus his heart outside of himself and returns it to the body. So then Ventus comes back to life, awakens. I guess.
Let me just say, I thought this was going to be more of a struggle, or there was going to be more to this power of waking, because earlier in the thing, the science you guys said, oh, if you can collect all the people's memories and separate them or whatever, then you can bring them back. And it's like, nope, just point your freaking keyblade at it.
I know, it's like he has his heart in him though, so I suppose it's like
yes,
easy mode. I don't know.
He's got two others in there as well.
Yeah, that's true. He's like, he just has to sort through, make sure he doesn't send his own heart out either. I don't know. It's a thing. But
yeah.
So Ventus comes back. Ventus then gets into a fight with Vanitas, sends him packing. Vanitas fucks off. And then there is a cool moment where Ventus meets Sora finally and is reunited with Aqua, which is cool as well. But Ventus looks at Sora and is scared at first because Sora looks like Vanitas because of this whole convoluted fucking thing of Ventus's heart staying in Sora as Sora was a little kid for a second when it was separated from the bodies, and then when it was returned because it was in Sora for a while, it took the form of Sora. It's a whole fucking Kingdom Hearts thing that I don't think is terribly too important to the plot, so there's no real reason to spend
people look like each other in these games. Yeah,
it's a whole thing. It's like, why does Ventus look like Roxas? Because same sort of reason. It's all the thing. But yeah, lots of characters look the same, and it does make it very confusing unless you know why they look the same sort of way. All right, so now with all of everyone but Terra saved that they need, and knowing that Terra is with the organization members, presumably, they assume, as again Sid tells them when they all gather together, which is kind of cool to see them all together. And the end, Sid's like, come final battle, we all gather, tomorrow, sleep now, do what you need to do, we head off. And they head off to the Keyblade Graveyard, which is always a cool place to go, because it is really cool when you actually get into the part. There's heaps of Keyblades there. I think, like, thematically, this is where this giant fight happened, and it's just...
Visually, it's very cool.
Visually, yeah, it's really cool to look at and see things. So they all arrive there, and at first you do this really epic... I thought it was... Like, it's meant to be easy, because it's just meant to be look cool as you're using a heap of abilities and there's a fucking 1,000,001 Heartless around you. But we see this moment in the trailer, and I remember when we was talking about the trailer at some stage before the game released, I was like, fuck, I hope that's kind of like that part 2 where you get to fight a heap of Heartless, and it was. So I really enjoyed this part. Did you like where you get to fight?
It was like one of the top moments of the game, I think.
Just fighting them all. Yeah, because it's easy as well, but it's meant to be.
And then you get into if you do the attraction of the only time it comes back.
The only time after the Olympus World that it actually comes back, come
back, and then you fire on the ground, and then you see the little Heartless flying up in the air. It looks great.
Yeah, and it's because when you go up into that thing, you get to see really how many is there, and you just blast the shit out of them. They you see them get thrown up into the air and all sorts of things, and they just keep coming and keep coming. Yeah, I thought that was
that looked really good compared to later in the game where it does not look good.
No, but yeah, it's weird how hit and miss this game can be. At some point. So they then, after you fight all them off, and Who saves you, actually? Fuck, I can't even remember now. Who clears them all?
Nobody. You just kill them all, right?
Oh, you do. You just blast them off the fucking thing. Yeah, that's right. Oh, my God. Kingdom Hearts, man. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Just keeping up with all these things that's happening. I'm losing track of the least important details because I'm trying to remember the biggest one. So you head through, and then you walk into the next section after you go through the cave and such, and you walk out there, and Terra is waiting. Aqua and Ventus run up to Terra because they're like, "Oh my God, like, is it you? Is she?" And then Sora, of course, is a little bit. No, Aqua's a little bit smarter and like pulls Ventus away because she knows, because it's Terra Xehanort, which is the Xehanort controlled Terra form. There's many versions of Xehanort. This is one of such things that will make it. And then he basically fucks everyone up, is the simplest way to put it, I guess.
Yeah, he bashes up a bunch of people, and then there's a freaking heartless cyclone.
Yeah. Well, he strikes down Ventus or something, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think he like strikes down Ventus first, and then he goes for someone
takes
else.
Out Axel.
Yeah, takes out Axel, and then fucking Donald uses a suicide bomb spell, it seems, to...
Yeah. He like blasts him. Like,
blasts him the fuck out of it, but
yeah.
apparently kills himself at the same time or something like that, it seems. And then everyone else is... this giant heartless swarm turns up. That starts taking everyone. That was cool. Then Roxas does a whole thing where he's like, "I trust you, Sora. You'll fucking figure it out. I believe in you." And then he's basically sacrificed himself, and then Sora gets devoured by a swarm, and then comes up with text that says something like, "And light was devoured that day," or light was taken
pretty
out,
much everybody died.
Yeah, everyone dies. The heroes lose is what happens here. And then it's cool because it cuts back to Arrakis. And by the way, I'm not 100% sure if I'm saying that right, but I don't think it really matters. We know who we're talking about. Him and Xehanort as kids playing the chess-like game where we last saw them at the previous time we flashback, where Xehanort thought he had Arrakis, but then all of a sudden he pulls back and a bunch of other chess pieces reappear. They come back. What's...
I think he cheated.
Yeah, probably. Well, this chess game that they're doing is just basically, especially...
So complicated. What are the rules? There's like elevated bits.
Yeah, if you thought the chess game in Star Wars was confusing, wait till you check out this one. So then they all die. Sora then comes to what is called the final world, not the final world in the game, but is actually called the final world by name. And here he finds Chirithy, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm not actually 100% sure, but I think it's Chirithy, which are small creature things that were once again introduced in the mobile game. And basically, I think all of the characters in that, which we'll get to later, have one. I'm not 100% sure. But if you haven't played that game and you're like, come into this, it's kind of like, oh, it's a thing that kind of looks like a Moogle, I guess, is what it is. Which I want to say, side note, this game, and something I forgot to bring up at the start, no Final Fantasy characters, which I'm going to tie that back into a theory I kind of have when we get to the secret ending and stuff. That kind of makes it make more sense, I guess. But also, you think that, but then Moogles are in it. Final Fantasy character. The only Final Fantasy character are Moogles in this whole game, which is a thing.
Was the Death Eater thing? What was that? The Link thing? What was that from?
What one?
Do you know the first Link summon you can get? Do you know?
I don't know what that is, actually. I forgot about that completely. I don't even know what that is. The big fat thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I forgot about that, actually.
Side note, barely use the summons.
Yeah. I would spam Simba for health. So instead of using Cure on myself, I'd wait till my health got low, and then I'd use a summon because it heals you, and then like just spam his Roar because it's like an AoE effect. So I'm like, instead of just using Cura or something, that seems like the better way to go about doing it, possibly. Okay, so in the final world, Chirithy, or whatever it is, interact. Sora in this final world has to find the pieces of his body. And whatever, or not even pieces of body, pieces of himself, I guess, figuratively speaking. And once he finds them all, he basically fucks off out of this world. But the only other important thing that happens in this world is a thing that you can miss, which is that if you interact with all these little cube things, I'm not really sure how to describe them, but yeah, floating cubey things that you can talk to, and then they'll give you little bits of text or information that happens on screen. If you interact with all of those, you can get like a cutscene that's actually, I'm pretty sure it's the only cutscene that you can miss in the entire game, because every other cutscene is obviously just story based, but I'm pretty sure this is the only one that you can straight up miss. And he talks to a character that is never named about how they're waiting for someone, all this very obscure stuff that you don't really understand what's going on. It's heavily implied that it's Ava, which is one of the foretells, which we'll get to in a little bit later. And Ava is the one that is missing when we get to the epilogue of the game we're talking about. So I think this cutscene that you can miss is potentially important when you get to the epilogue, but other than that, it's not really important to the overall story of the game. It's also really on the nose, annoying, hinting at future stuff to the point where Sora asks what the person's name is, and then the little floating orb thing or whatever you want to call it comes up to Sora's ear, whispers its name, but it never says it in subtitle or anything down below for here, so only Sora can hear it. And then Sora like chuckles to himself and then laughs, and then that's like kind of the end of it. So it's really weird, like how it's all put together. Anyway, Sora finds all these pieces of himself. He then gets to travel.
And then mercifully, lots more Soras than you need.
That's true. There is a lot more
Which
than
is
you need.
Thematically weird, but gameplay-wise very good.
Handy, yes. Yeah, I thought there would be to a dot the number that you needed, but no, there's just a shit ton apparently. So he leaves some of himself there, really, which is weird.
Well, he's got so much to spare. So
yeah, that's true. There's a lot of Sora to go around. So now Sora travels through all of the different worlds that he had visited so far, and he goes through all of them chasing this heartless monster thing, which has all the hearts of all of his friends, and basically this is him awakening all of their hearts one by one again, and then this whole segment ends with him basically time traveling, but that's a whole thing. I didn't particularly love this segment because it just felt fillerish to me.
It's just extended a little bit.
Yeah, it was way too long. I didn't like
worlds again.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we had all these worlds, better make one last use of them before the last push of the end of the game. I guess
it's just time travel.
Yeah, I didn't particularly like it, but it's a thing that exists, I guess. After you save them all, the last person, he's floating through the void. I don't even know what you'd call it, but he bumps into Kairi there, takes her hand, and then she helps lead him back to the battlefield just before they were all wiped out. So he time travels, I guess, but I think the important thing for this is that even if he did time travel, in Kingdom Hearts lore, as far as I'm aware, Kingdom Hearts lore says that if you time travel, when you return to your actual present time, you will not remember anything you saw or did. So although you can travel and like make changes and tell, like for example, Xehanort travels backwards, tells his younger self information that'll help change the future. But then when Xehanort travels back to his present timeline, he wouldn't have remembered what he told that person or did. But then because he told that past version, it changes the future anyway. Does that make sense? Like as far as time travel?
Not really, but
so I'm not. It's this whole segment I found really weird because I'm like, Sora did time travel, I'm pretty sure, but yeah. For the people who are like, why doesn't he remember and why does he just charge back into Bella and seem not to remember what's about to happen, kind of? It's because I'm pretty sure Kingdom Hearts lore covers that if you do time travel, you won't remember what you just did or took part in.
Then anyway. How do you prevent doing the exact same thing again?
Well, he doesn't really. He's not the one that stops what's happening. Someone else comes in here and saves. So...
But then why didn't they come the first time?
They were late to the party, all right? Just give them a shot.
But no time has passed.
Calm down over here. So they return to the bell. Everything seems to be going I guess the exact same way you think it would be going. Aqua and Ventus run up to Terra Xehanort once again. And then everything's going. Sora says one line that's different, though, I suppose, which is that he's like, we'll never give up, or some very heroic thing he spits out at Terra here at some stage. And then right as Terra Xehanort goes to strike down Ventus like he did the first time this battle happened, a lingering will shows up, which is this giant armor piece that is seen in Kingdom Hearts 2 and something else, I think, but I can't remember what it is at this point. But is one of the optional bosses in Kingdom Hearts 2, and I think it's also in like one of the 3DS games, like maybe Drop Distance or something like that. But Lingering Will is this is where it gets really fucking confusing. Lingering Will is Terra's like armor as a like Keyblade Master armor type thing, and it is got his mind in it. So you may be like, how does it have his mind in it? It's like, let's just remember, we're living in a world where the game literally splits characters into hearts, nobodies, anything which are nobodies, and then there's somebodies, which is when the nobody heartless returns a thing. And then yes, we now have a giant piece of armor that is just being controlled by solely the mind of something that's just fighting.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a thing.
I don't know, it looked cool though.
It looks very fucking cool. When it comes in and kicks that ass, it's I thought it's very cool. And also, like, if you buy into the themes of Kingdom Hearts, which I feel like to get any emotional resonance out of these games and emotional impact out of a lot of what happens in these games, you do have to buy into, of course, the lore and what's happening. And if you do buy into it, seeing Lingering Will show up to fight Terra Xehanort actually has some sort of emotional impact, of course, because he's kind of fighting himself here. And then once again, when we get to a bit later, Terra fights himself once again to take control of his body. So there's a lot of Terra fighting himself from within side to get control of himself back, which is a whole thing. As Ash scratches his head, like, please, Lord, help me. How are we supposed to do anything? So after that happens, then a mass amount of Heartless turn up, of course. Giant Heartless Swarm, which is the boss fight. And I think it's the worst boss fight in the whole game, I personally found. I thought it was shit. Like, just tedious and annoying and not fun. I thought just fighting this swamp thing.
Then you get the cool moment after it, though.
Yeah, but I suppose I'm like, we're getting towards the end of the game, and really one of the bosses you want to give me is just a hurricane of fucking shit Heartless all stuck together. It's just not cool to me, you know? It's just
Well, it's a callback because there was one in Twilight Town earlier in the game.
I know, but I don't care. Like, just let me fight it at fucking 2 worlds before this or something like that. I'm like, I don't want to fight this now here. I would have rather fought fucking Terra Xehanort here or something or some other giant Heartless thing. I'm like, it's just a tornado of shit kicker Heartless got together and started a union, and like, this is what they've got out of it, you know? Like, they're all teaming up together.
Sets up again the giant Heartless volcano tornado thing.
I guess.
And then you get these freaking keys from somewhere.
Yeah. I think I just found it annoying because I just didn't think it was as cool as maybe I wanted to be. And it was just a tedious boss fight too, because just floating around is fucking...
You don't want to spoil...
Pissing me off yourself. Is what it was. So it seems they're all losing, and then Gensid fucking blasts out of nowhere, which is very cool.
No, but before that, you had all the freaking Keyblades from the mobile game.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
All the
Keyblades.
All the usernames.
Yeah, all the usernames. Yeah, I completely forgot. Yeah, all the Keyblades show up from the come. I don't know why they show up either, is the other thing that annoyed me about this. And once again, I'm sure someone has an explanation that is deeper in
you see some guy says, do you need help?
Yeah, it's the fucking kid is a character, but I can't remember who. It is such a throwaway thing too. And I looked this up afterwards. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that is an actual character, and I can't remember who it is now. But yeah, once again, throwaway character that's connected to something that's never explained or done or anything that doesn't really matter. But yeah, he shows up and then lends the help of all these fucking Keyblades, and then you're fucking spamming X. And I remember I wasn't even paying attention. I was too busy just looking at the names coming to see if there was any like funny Easter eggs in the names that I could possibly miss. But no, they were all just names, I guess, of X slain Keyblade Masters. It was fine. I guess it's a moment that happens.
It looked visually cool.
It looked visually cool.
If you were paying attention.
I wasn't. I was too busy looking to make sure I didn't miss any cool Easter eggs.
Yeah.
You don't want to miss the Easter eggs, Ash, you know? You want to be first on the Reddit hot take to spot these things. You know, that's how you become famous. All right? You want to become famous? So you got to spot the cool Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Yensid shows up because there's still a bunch of Heartless here. Yensid fucking blasts out of nowhere.
Like
Mr. Disney
what
himself.
Been doing this whole time?
Yeah. Could have been here helping us out, but no, just comes down now. He does like some giant force field thing. Says, I'll hold the Mac. Back years go on. You need to do the... Basically, yeah. Donald and Goofy stay back at this point, which is important for later because, of course, they come back. But at this stage, they do stay back. And I think it's good because it means that the next few fights are all just with the Keyblade wielders, you know, it's like no Donald and Goofy are involved, and Sora's just going one by one to help them. But yeah, they come along. Donald and Goofy are left back. and then they head on up further through the graveyard. And then you do get this cool moment, as I was kind of hinting at and talking about before, where they're walking up through the graveyard, and then Xehanort plus the Organization 13 are walking up in a V motion, I guess, is kind of what they formed it.
V.
Yeah. They should have formed the X for the fucking Keyblade. That would have been a lot cooler. But yeah, I thought that moment, like visually, it's like, oh, that's cool. That is cool. You can't.
Okay.
It's like, oh, yes, finally. And I think it just reminds me too, because I remember the secret movie for Kingdom Hearts 2 saw Xehanort like walking down here fighting people with like I think it's been so long since I've watched it, but I'm pretty sure it's like him walking down and then like Vanitas is by his side and they're like fighting people and stuff. And that secret movie was basically hinting at Birth by Sleep when it came out. But I remember seeing him there walking down. It looked badass, and it was in this graveyard full of all the keys as we see it now. And I remember at the time, because no one knew what the fuck it was about, and we didn't really know about the Keyblade graveyard or anything at the time. It was like, oh my fucking god. So yeah, watching this kind of reminded me of that, just how cool it all looks and stuff. They come down. So then he forms a maze, I guess, of sorts, some sort of crappy maze.
Yeah.
Splits off everyone into their own sorts of mini fights, and you can pick which direction to go, but it doesn't really matter because you have to do the fights anyway. Yeah, I was wondering at one point, I'm like, surely this game isn't going to have some sort of change in story. That's not a thing that's going to happen. But no, it's just like, do you want to help them first? Do you want to help them first? There's no reason to go either way or another. It's just whatever you particularly feel like doing. Yeah, who you like more. But it's not like the other person can die if you take too long or anything like that. So then you do all these fights with teaming up with some of your allies and helping take down Organization 13 members. And I think the only pieces of really important information that come out of all of the fights are as follows. Xigbar is never actually seen dying, which is important come the epilogue. He's the only Organization member who doesn't just fade away on the ground in front of all of them after you've finished fighting him. He jumps up on top of the maze and then is last seen falling backwards off it, and you kind of presume that he means he's dead. But it's important that they did cover their tracks well, as you never actually saw him die, haha, and that's why him showing up in the epilogue makes sense when you look back at it, because you're like, yeah, he never did actually disappear. That's fine. Luxord giving Sora a card may or may not be important for future sequels, because he does, as he's passing away, give Sora a card and refer to it as a lucky second chance or something along those lines, I think, which at the time seems like it might be something that's going to become useful in the final fight or something like that, but it's never brought up again, which leads, of course, to the theory that's probably going to be something to do with any potential sequels, spin-offs, any things like that. And I really don't like how much this game sets up stuff for future games, but that's the whole thing. Then Axel gets Zion back, Zion, however you say her name, who was the third fucking heart inside Sora. And I think she's...
I thought they got Roxas back here. Is that...
They get Roxas back too.
So I didn't realize she was part of him as well.
Oh, she gets like her heart, like she was...
She like turns.
She turns, yeah. And then Roxas comes back.
You know.
Who was the original heart.
Somehow, in between all this fighting, Sora managed to do the power of waking again.
I think they played off that... I think they played off that they need his emotions or something along those lines to help. Like Roxas is triggered by what's happening around him or something. Like if he's friends, like then his heart's more triggered or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, Roxas comes back. Terra also gets control back of his body when Aqua and Ventus and Sora are fighting him and whoever else it is at that time. He gets control back, and it also proves like some long-running fan theory that I didn't realize was a thing until I saw a thread on Reddit or somewhere, that the giant monster thing that appears behind Heartless Ansem was actually a part of Terra, like some form of him, because then that monster helps fight back Terra. Apparently that was a long-running fan theory that was confirmed true. There you go for everyone that That's what I mean. That's what I mean. We're talking about this, and you're like, Dylan, you're talking about shit I don't understand. There's lots of shit I don't even fucking understand. Like hardcore Kingdom Hearts fans go like to shit. You're like, how was that even a fan theory? And it's like, I don't know. They read all the details and stuff. I don't know. There's one thing I can appreciate the franchise as convoluted as it is that its fan base is fucking nuts when it comes to like the hardcore Kingdom Hearts fans when they get into it. It's interesting to see the theories and stuff they come up with and stuff, which I think we should talk a little bit more about when we get to the...
A 26-part series explaining everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Please.
Yeah, pretty much.
Can also say it was really funny that every time a person you defeated one of the organization, the fighting would just stop.
Yeah.
Yep. Just have time for a monologue.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very amusing.
That was weird. Do you have anything to say about any of the maze fights though, in particular? Any of moments?
No, it was just fun, I guess. There wasn't too much difference. Like they're all sort of fought the same ish.
Mm-hmm.
The only one was the Luxor one where he had the card thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I worked that out pretty quick. So
I transformed into Simba and used the AoE ability to knock all the cards out at once.
No. Yeah. The thing was, one of the cards was like moving.
It would knock sideways. Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty simple. And then they had one puzzle part in this maze thing.
Oh, like which direction to go? Like the colored plate things? Yeah. Yeah.
The only they used it once in the maze.
And it wasn't even that hard. It was just very simple.
It's just weird. Why chuck that in for the point? What was the whole point?
Like, we build a maze. Might as well
put a puzzle.
Use
just
it.
Put one
somewhat.
puzzle in here, just so it looks like we put some effort in.
Yeah. Might as well. Who knows?
Yeah.
So then in the final battle of the maze sort of section, I guess is what I refer to it as, you face off against fucking like it's like too many Xehanorts, like I say. My mind just fucking breaks sometimes. It's like I'm about to say 3 different names that all have Xehanort ending with them. How do we even tackle this? You fight it against Xehanort, young Xehanort, Heartless Xehanort, and Zenmus. So,
which is Xehanort's nobody.
Yes. So you fight against the Kingdom Hearts 1 villain, the Kingdom Hearts 2 villain, and then the young Xehanort, which is a villain from some of the other spin-off games. And technically a spin-off thing, which is he's traveled from time. Don't even get me started. So they're the 3 villains you fight. At this part, I found I struggled a little bit here. I nearly died. Like with these 3 at the same time. I feel like Heartless Xehanort like does that thing where he spins around heaps of stuff, and that was fucking pissed me off at some stage. But overall, I thought this was a weird fight because it's also like you're just fighting the main villains from the other games, but they're not as big or epic from the other games, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit weird on that front, I guess, to see that happen. But anyway, after you take them all down, Xehanort, Master of Xehanort, actual Xehanort, we're down to 1. It should get easier from here.
Yeah.
He gets Kairi and strikes her down, kills her to get the final heart for the
keys
that he needs to form the Keyblade. That's the other important thing. The big Keyblade that he needs to form to call upon Kingdom Hearts is just, in case you don't know, straight up called the Keyblade, which I find so fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Because all the other keys...
When you see the subtitle, it's an X.
Yes. It's an X in the subtitles, but all the characters are like...
Which is the Greek...
Keyblade. The Keyblade.
Greek symbol for chi, I think.
Yes.
Is what I read. So why they don't call it a chi blade?
I don't know. But
no.
Yeah. It's a whole weird fucking... Yeah, I don't know. It's nonsense. It's also the same as like... They don't use Roman numerals... Well, it's like Kingdom Hearts 3's Roman numerals, but then it says like 2.8 numerically in the titles and stuff. It's like, I'm pretty sure Nomura, whoever makes the decisions, it's just style over what makes sense at this stage, really. It's like style is the most important thing. So then, kills Kairi. Dol takes it down. He summons Kingdom Hearts. It appears in the sky above. We're going to fuck shit up. So Xehanort starts pausing time.
They also just stand there while he's doing all this.
Pretty much. I
mean, you could just attack. I mean, you've got all these magical spells. You know, do something.
But no,
just watch.
Well, to be fair, his love interest just died. you know,
Mickey and Riku were there.
Riku. So then Donald, Goofy turn up along with the rest of the crew, Aqua, Mickey, Riku, all these other people. So everyone's there. They stop to talk about it and have a cup of tea for a couple of minutes, and they're like, what should we do? And they all decide they'll try and hold back Kingdom Hearts by pointing their keys at it, and Sora, Donald, and Goofy are going to try and trick Xehanort into going into the thing and traveling through time and hopefully trapping him into a place where they can get rid of him, and the rest of the people can hold down Kingdom Hearts until Sora can get the key and then actually put a stop to it. It's basically, I feel like, what's the plan. Although
I don't know. It was convoluted and confusing.
It was, I mean, that's
what even is Kingdom Hearts?
It's the moon. It's like we're 3 games in. What even is Kingdom Hearts? All right. So then they travel through and they go to fight Xehanort in, they end up in his home turf, this world called Scala ad Calium? Salem? I'm not actually sure how you pronounce it, but it is the world where we have been technically throughout the game a couple times before. We see that's where the kids are playing chess. So this is Xehanort's and Arrakis's home world. This is the world where years and years ago, where Keyblade masters would kind of live all happily, you know, train and whatever else. It's like their home village, basically. So Xehanort's like, you think you fucked me? No, because you've brought me to a place where I'll become much stronger. And then you do this weird battle. I don't know. I didn't particularly like any form of the last boss fight until like the very last part. I liked because it was cool and emotionally it had like elements they were hitting. But the first section of the fight, you have to like go around the town and you just start fighting off this split form, like 7 different versions of him, I think it is. And I'm presuming it's 7 because like 7 darknesses and all this sort of shit. You go around, but it was kind of annoying because they set up the whole town and it looks like you might get to explore it for a little bit before the boss fight starts. But then as soon as you walk into a town, it's like, no, boss fight, no exploring this town, but or anything like that. You barely get a chance to look around and the boss fight triggers straight away. Once you take down all 7 forms, or however many they are, he turns them all into one, comes back into him, and I presume puts on what is his Keyblade armor or whatever you want to refer to it as. And I found it really weird that the helmet is goat. I'm not sure if that has any sort of significance in any sort of way other than...
I think it does, because at the end in the epilogue, all the people have like animal masks.
Yeah, they all have masks, but I don't know like if the goat up until this stage has...
Because he's the greatest of all time.
Oh my god. Wow, yeah, okay. I won't say anything more after that. That's probably the answer we was all looking for. So then you do this other section of fight, which is like an underwater section, plus another section where you're like floating in the air, another section where he's like turning the world sideways. I thought they were all fine. I didn't particularly think the last boss fight was as inventive or with the combat or as epic as I kind of...
Spamming and blocking.
Yeah, I didn't like it as much compared to other games.
It was frustrating.
Yeah, well, this was it. I died a couple times here. You said you died a few times here, so...
Yeah.
But...
you can... in the menu, if you do prepare and
you can
retry.
Switch your items around and whatever else.
I hadn't used that. I thought it would take you back.
No, I didn't discover that until...
And mercifully, there were like checkpoints in the battle.
Yeah. That was nice.
Oh, man. That was nice. Compared to back in the day. You die, you go all the way back to the start of the freaking battle.
That's true.
Have to do the 20-minute cutscene in between.
Yeah, no, fuck that shit. I'm so glad you can skip cutscenes in this one even from the start without having finished the game once if you want to. I don't know why you would, because imagine playing this game but not just skipping on cutscenes. That's weird, but it exists if that's a thing you want to do. Once you do the final fight though, or the final section of the fight, which is the only part I really kind of enjoyed, which is where he's stripped of all the armor and you're up on top of the building and you're actually fighting. I think I just enjoyed it more because you're actually just fighting Xehanort as he looks, you know, like he doesn't have some big fucking armor on or whatever else. It's Master Xehanort the way we've known him to look for games now, the way he's looked throughout the entirety of this game, and he's got the fucking Keyblade, the Chi blade, you're doing a fight with him, and this was good. It wasn't hard here either. It was just cool to fight him mano or however you want to put it.
Yeah.
There's more to light than meets the eye. As I told you.
You sly fox. Now hand over the keyblade.
So it was hiding inside
Xehanort.
Terra's body when it was overtaken by Xehanort.
I guess. I don't know. This is another thing. It's like I legit don't think there's a
Was Terra surprised? I can't remember.
no.
No, he knew. Okay, he got consent.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I didn't know about this. I don't know if this is a thing that we were supposed to know or I didn't know, but yeah. So Xehanort appears. It's cool to see. Not say Arrakis appears, which is cool. Also, I think it's, in case you don't know, like Yen Sid is Disney backwards, and then Arrakis is Square Enix or whatever backwards. Like that's how that all works out. Yeah, they do a bunch of fucking little sneaky things like that. So he comes in, he talks Xehanort down from trying to fight for the last time, basically, and says, it's all over after Xehanort's doing this whole speech about. And I think the important thing here is, and one important moment from Xehanort in his final moments here, is they definitely try and lock in what kind of character Xehanort is, and the fact that he wasn't actually the big bad of the whole Kingdom Hearts universe, because of course they're going to try and set you up for the next game or the next potential trilogy or whatever's after here, because they're basically trying to explain that much like he was playing a bunch of people, he was also getting played by someone, and that his views were not like, I want to take over the world and ruin it and stuff. In his mind, as much as it's wrong, he was like, the world's corrupted by darkness. I want to
kill everybody so we can start again.
Yeah, it's like a world cleansing to start again because there's too much darkness in the world. So although he's wrong, his viewpoint isn't like
evil.
I mean, he is evil, but I've seen a lot of people argue online about like, do you think that they try and humanize him too much at the end of this game, given how much bad things we've seen him do throughout the entirety of the game up until this point? Do you think like they just try and make you care a bit too much about him or whatever by the end here?
I don't know. Yeah, it seemed like he just got kind of lost on his way to whatever his mission was, I guess.
Because yeah, they basically try and set up like, hey,
I mean, you can choose to care or not care.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But I understand why a lot of people are annoyed, because all of these games up until this point, he's been the main bad guy, a lead bad guy, and basically this collection of Kingdom Hearts games is going to be just known as the Xehanort whatever section of the Kingdom Hearts game.
Xehanort Saga.
Yeah, Xehanort Saga, I guess. And then when we go on from here, the next section is going to be called something else. Pull the true person pulling the strings behind it all. But it does feel a little bit weird to try and, at the last second, kind of make you not hate him as much, given how much throughout the rest of the games it's just been like, he is the true evil villain and he is the person you should be hating the most. He is the person who brought the Heartless into that. I mean, that's an important thing. Like, as much as someone else may have twisted his views and these sorts of things and pushed him in certain directions, he is still the person who brought unlocked the Heartless and brought them into the world. Like, and that's what a lot of people view as the stepping point for like, that's when Kingdom Hearts goes bad. Especially if you just look back and you played Kingdom Hearts 1 back in the day, it's like Heartless equals bad. Who brought Heartless in? They are main bad guy. And it's like, well, that's Xehanort. So, all right. So yeah, Arrakis appears, talks him down from it. Then Xehanort gives Sora the key blade and says, hey, here, have this, close down the thing. Arrakis then says goodbye to Aqua, Terra, Ventus, apologizes for them. Like, I'm sorry for putting this much pressure on you, all these sorts of things, which is a cool moment if you have any sort of emotional attachment to those characters from Birth by Sleep, because of course that's a moment that'll mean a lot. But if you, once again, jumping into this game after 2 without any knowledge or anything of the other ones is really weird because there's so many moments like that where it's just like, well, that's a closing loop to a story cycle from Birth by Sleep. And this game, as much as it's maybe like Sora's the Star and stuff like that, there are so many moments like that where I'm like, this is really a sequel to Birth by Sleep more than anything else at this point. So, and that happens several times.
Now we realize why they made such an effort to put all the collections out before this one came out.
Yeah, and I do feel like people make that argument. And the best counter argument I've seen to, why do they expect us to play so many spin-offs to be able to understand the story, blah, 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 blah. The best counter argument I've seen online is people be like, yeah, well, when you go watch Avengers film, no one fucking complains that you had to watch Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, and all these other fucking films happening around the time to be able to, like, no one jumped from Avengers Age of Ultron to Avengers Infinity War and was like, oh, fuck, I don't understand what's happening. This is bullshit. Why do they expect me to watch all these other movies?
Where's this Spider-Man guy come from?
Where'd this guy come from? Why does Hulk all of a sudden have a short haircut and no eye? And like, what's going on?
Who are these guys? Who are these alien people? Yeah,
so I definitely feel like, although the Kingdom Hearts lore and story is a lot more convoluted and complicated than your Marvel lore and story and these sorts of things, I do feel like at a base level that argument is and does make sense. And also the argument where they're like, well, even if that's true and they expect me to play old other ones, well, I don't want to fucking buy a PSP and a 3DS and all these sorts of things. And it's like, well, to be fair, they did spend the last couple of years putting out these HD collections to try and let people get easy access to all these games and be able to prep for the story.
Since the PS3 era.
Exactly. Since PS3 era, they put them all out, and then PS4 era, they port them over. So as much as I understand that people may have jumped from this one 2 to 3 and just be really fucking confused, I don't think the problem lies with Square and the complicated story telling that is Kingdom Hearts, because I do somewhat feel like they did all they could to a point to really help people out. And if they want to tell a complicated story that crosses multiple games and stuff, I don't feel like, if Marvel's allowed to do it, I don't see why they can't be allowed to do it, is the thing. All right, so then, Arrakis and Xehanort, after all this, they turn back to the kid forms, which I didn't really understand why that would happen at all, but
it's a thematic choice.
Yeah, I think, I definitely feel like
choice.
Stylistic choice over a choice of anything else. But
no, I think it's so people who didn't realize your Ericus was like,
that
oh my god, it's the kid.
Yeah, that's probably why, actually. Makes sense. And then they disappear into somewhere. And then they all go... Yeah, the ether. They all go back to the Keyblade graveyard at this point, and Sora has locked up with the Keyblade, locked up Kingdom Hearts again, so that's done. And everyone's all happy and cheery to a point, and like, yay, we've all beat the guy, and this is the last game of the franchise, surely, and everything's great, and everyone's accounted for. And then Sora rightfully is like, wait. No, everyone is not here. I'll have you remember that Kairi, remember her? She's fucking not here. And Sora chooses that he's going to go search for Kairi's heart through the mystical void and try and find her heart and bring her back to life, basically. King Mickey, of course, tries to talk him out of it, because if he goes searching for that long in that sort of place, he could probably get lost and lose his own heart as well. And a couple other characters try and talk him out of it as well. But then Sora, of course, is like, no, I got to do this. He basically says, the first reason I was set out for all this is because I wanted to save Kairi. The first game, his mission is basically save Kairi. As much as he's helping close doors and all these other things, he's doing that as a side mission because Donald and Goofy are tackling along with him in the first game. But from the first game, it's always been, I just want to save Kairi and do what's best along the way as well, because I'm a good guy. But that's always been his main mission. So he sets off for that, and then once he does that, we cut to the montage as a bunch of sad stuff begins in Kingdom Sad 3. You get to see King, Mickey, Donald, and Goofy all returning home, with Yen Sid as well, bumping into Minnie and such back there. It's like, oh yeah, they're all coming back home. Ventus, Terra, and Aqua all return home as well. They go to Castle Oblivion, and she's like, "Hey, see a cool trick? Oh, Land of Departure. Remember that? That's where we're from." And you see Roxas meet up with the
and then the little Chirithy guy shows up,
which basically confirms that when it was talking about waiting for someone who may have forgotten them, it was waiting for Roxas, and it was probably Roxas the Chirithy, because also
Ventus, you mean?
Ventus, sorry, yeah, Ventus.
They look the same.
They look the same. That's why it's a whole weird thing. Ventus is Chirithy, which also there's another thing like from the mobile game lore that Ventus is from a time period like long ago, back where the lawmakers are from, where they had Chirithys. No one knows how he gets from that time period to the time period we're at, but it's a whole thing. And the Chirithy kind of confirms that whole sort of stuff. But it's not really important for this game. Once again, it's kind of something that's potentially important 20 years from now when we get Kingdom Hearts 4. We then see Roxas, Axel, and all the other friends in Twilight Town sitting on top of the clock tower, and they're all happy. They're having sea salt ice cream. Right, fucking Axel's pulling him out of his ass at this point. The ice cream's coming from everywhere. Namine is seen being revived using a replica body in the tower there. Cool. Namine shows up. I'm sure Namine has some fans, but it's like, okay, there's that lady back, because of course she's really only important in if you play the main kind of games. It's like the GBA one. Fuck, I can't even remember the names. This thing's going too long at this stage. Semi-important at the start of 2, I guess, as well, and then also 358 over 2 days is she's in it as well. But
Chain of Memories.
Thank you. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yes. Riku then shows up, presumably picking them all up. There's a section where you see on Twilight Town like a shadow appear. I'm presuming that is Riku's ship, because then it shows the ship come down in Namine's scene afterwards. So I presume the shadow is meant to be Riku's picking up all of these people, and he picks them all up in his gummy ship, which is really weird to see the gummy ship come down in like these CG scenes. I'm like, the gummy ship's fucking weird. Also, we never talked about the gummy ship. I don't really think we need to. It's always been bad. It is bad again. It's as okay as it can while still being bad. Like, that's my thoughts.
More of it. That's the only problem.
It's more of it, yeah. But you can skip stuff faster, I feel, than other ones if you can.
I guess you can sort of avoid stuff.
You can avoid stuff. Yeah. So then they'll go back to Destiny Islands on the beach
there.
there.
One last thing. Did you have difficulty flying the gummy ship towards the graveyard world?
I'll just bounce off walls. It didn't do any damage. I'll just run into walls and bounce off them. Okay. And for the first wall I ran into, I was like, oh shit. And then I realized I took no damage. I was like, who fucking cares? I'll blast around this place, bounce off pinball my way to the last world. It'll be fine. So then they're on the beach, they're all playing around, having a great old time. And then we get the ultimate sads, which is that, everyone looks over, right? You see a shot of Mickey and everyone looking over. And I don't think that them looking over is connected to the shot we see following it with Sora and Kairi, because it seems like they're all looking over like someone just arrived, or something is happening. But then I don't think someone arriving or something happening is connected to the shot we see of Kairi and Sora in the tree. I don't think those two things are connected, because that would be weird for them all to just suddenly look over surprised at Kairi sitting in the tree. That would be weird, but I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into it weird. But the ultimate sad shot of the whole franchise at this point is Kairi sitting on the tree with Sora, a tree they've sat on many times, and is kind of a big imagery, I guess, for the franchise from kind of day one is those two characters sitting there. And the whole franchise is basically about those two characters trying to get together. And then you see them together, and at first I was like, oh, he's saved her. This is great. The franchise is actually going to end on a happy note. And it comes in and you see a tear coming down Kairi, and then all of a sudden fucking Sora just fucking disappears, and credits. And I fucking threw my PlayStation out the window. I legit was so fucking pissed off, crushed, annoyed. I don't know. I had so many. This is my thing. Like, for a lot of this franchise, as we're talking about, I think they covered. I was a big, and I've said this on things, I didn't say this in this video, I was a big Kingdom Hearts fan growing up, and I kind of lost track of the franchise at some point as I got older, and other things I kind of dive off it. And I tried to get more back into it as was coming into the last couple of years. I've been trying to pay more attention to stuff and catch up on what I can and whatever else in preparation for this game. And still, the moment where he disappeared, tear, just straight away. Also, first emotion, I started crying. Second emotion, I wanted to kill Nomura, because it is fucking heartbreaking to me that basically we're playing this entire franchise waiting for these two characters to be happy to a point. Like, I know people are playing them for other reasons, but like story-wise, it's like kind of boils down to we just want Sora and Kairi to be fucking happy, and then they're like, this is the end of this kind of section of the franchise, and then to end it on such a heartbreaking moment like this, I'm just like, you're a fucking cunt. That's how I feel. Okay, Nomura? Okay? Fucking asshole. Like, upset me, crush me, everything. I definitely feel like it's something to be said about Kingdom Hearts with how bad and hit and miss the writing can be, and how hit and miss the voice acting can be delivered, and how hit and miss the fights before this and everything about the game. But when it came down to it, when it came down to this final cutscene, it still does something that Kingdom Hearts can do that no other franchise can, which is just suddenly just hitting me in the feels left, right, and center and just fucking crush me right at the end. It's like everything else, my thoughts about the gameplay, story, anything were out the window because it just hit me on the emotional level the correct way. And it's like, yeah, well, this is why I play these fucking games, really. If I was to say there's a reason I play these games, it is because it can hit me in the feels kind of like no other game can at this point, because I've been following the franchise since I was so young. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the ending part here and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it was a cool imagery. I don't know what it means in the long term.
He's lost.
Are they actually looking at Kairi? Are they just? I think they're just destined never to be together. You're just one of those stories.
You're heartless, is what you are. You're a heartless motherfucker.
I think it's just one of those tragic stories where they're never going to end up together.
Don't say that. Oh, don't think. Also, when the song kicks in, don't think twice. Like when it just kicks in and the music's like, oh, fuck it. I can't. I swear, I can't watch. It is sad shit. That I think, and that's also the thing. Like everything in the middle of this game, like the game opens strong as fuck. Like I didn't cry when the game started, but I was feeling very emotional in that opening clip, which we didn't talk about as well. Like the opening song,
credit montage thing.
Yeah, with the fucking Face My Fears song by Yatada and Skrillex thing, which I listen to basically nonstop. And these days I cannot stop listening to that song. It is a fucking jam, is what it is. When that beat drops, it fucking hits hard. It's a great song. And that opening video clip is just hits on the emotions really fucking hard. It's like it's showing everything from
all. It would hit even more if you had to play the other games, I think.
Yeah, it's like you see
everything.
It shows the history of this franchise, and even though I haven't played all of the games, but still have, I have a high. I don't like saying I have a big attachment to the game because I admit that I fell off for a while because when I got older and I started. I don't know. I went for a phase where, you hit 18 and it's like, who cares about Kingdom Hearts anymore? But also I think that's part of it because I was playing this when I was like 12 up until now when the third one's coming out. So it's like a whole history of my life happening while these games are coming out. And even though I may have missed some, it's like I still have such an attachment to this franchise from when I was younger and stuff like that, and then coming back into it. But yeah, starting it and you're seeing all the stuff with all the characters and the things happening, and it's like that hit me on such an emotional level, and the game starts on such a high emotional level, and then the game ends on such a high emotional level for me. It just fucking crushes me at the end of the game. And because both the start and the finish have such emotional resonance for me, and when I think about Kingdom Hearts 3, I really don't think about anything in between those two moments, which I don't think that's like I'm not saying it's bad or good thing, but like when I think about this game, I honestly just think about what stands out to me the most is how heavy the emotional moments from the start of this game and the end of the game hit me, and everything in between is just doesn't really matter. Like the whole fucking gameplay could have been trash, but if it still hit me emotionally like this game did, it's like it doesn't even fucking matter. Like I can look at this critically and probably give this I wouldn't say like a really low score, but I don't think I'd give it as high a score as I saw a lot of outlets giving it. Like I'll chuck it out there. If I was to score this today, probably like a 7 or something. Like, I think it has a lot of problems, and I've seen the average be like an 8, and I'm like, yeah, that's too high for me. Like I think this game is like a 7 or something, but if I was just scoring it with the way it hit me in my emotions, I don't know, like at fucking 10, Like that's
when
my
I finished the game, it was like a 9, 10, and then when you had a bit of time to process it.
There's a lot going on, and yeah, I don't know. I love the end of the game. That's that image of Sora and Kairi sitting on that tree. Oh, just end.
Destined never to be together.
You're a heartless son of a bitch. I don't like you at all. You're horrible. All right, so last thing to talk about,
Things.
last things to talk about before we kind of get into any last thoughts, if you have them, before we end this very long, I'm sure, video. But there is an epilogue. Okay, so it's also worth pointing out that people who played the game ahead of the time, we didn't have to worry about it because we weren't super rushing or binging this game, of course. By the time we both finished it, the epilogue was already in the game, and the secret movie was as well, although I watched the secret movie on YouTube because to unlock the secret movie in the game, I think you have to get 60 out of 90 of the hidden Mickeys, and that is what triggers it. Yeah, which I was like, I might do one day when I go for the platinum, but I just want to watch the fucking secret movie now. Thank you very much. But so the epilogue sees a hooded figure in the middle of the Keyblade field thing, whatever you want to call it. Graveyard. Sorry, yeah, but it's a long video. It's a very long video.
It is
in the Keyblade graveyard, and he has he's standing there with the black box, and of course it's like, oh, the black box. That's a thing. That's exciting. And then you see 4 out of 5 of the foretellers appear. Now, the foretellers are, I mean, we can't go into it because it'll be way too long. But if you want to look up who the foretellers are, it's the mobile game, which is like 3 different variations. And I think the names change depending on different countries, maybe even. But it's like Kingdom Hearts like X, Kingdom Hearts Unchained. Unchained X, I think is what's called now. I don't know. It's very confusing, but it's basically a really crappy. I've tried playing it. I don't like it. I think it's a crap game. It's unfortunate that the game is filled so heavily with lore that's important to Kingdom Hearts, but that's why I don't really want to play it. And every time, and they're still updating that game is an important thing.
Yeah,
they still constantly update that game to the point where they may 2 months from now update it again to stuff that will hint at stuff to come further, because they can, with the reveal of Xigbar here, they may add stuff into it. So if you want to keep up to date with that, follow a Reddit thread or account to do with that game and just keep up with what's happening. That's on you. But foretellers are from the time long ago before the Keyblade War happened. They are from the time period where basically all the lands were connected. So in Kingdom Hearts, all the worlds are just one big land and connected. And it's weird to explain, but it's like everything's fairy tales and happiness and all what's going on. And there's a guy called the Master of Masters, which we'll get to in a second. And he gets a prediction, sees Keyblade War happening. There's the foretellers are basically members of different factions of the town. That's basically the way to boil it down, I guess. So 4 out of 5 turn up. The 5th one that doesn't turn up is Ava or Ava. I think it's Ava. And she is the voice that is presumably at the final world that we hear. That's the thing that's happening there. And then the hooded figure reveals himself to be Xigbar. But then Xigbar also reveals that he is in fact Lushu, which is a character. Yeah, it's like this epilogue means nothing unless you know. Lushu is a character who was given the Master of Masters Keyblade and a hidden box. And the Master of Masters Keyblade is the one that Riku's had ever since the first game, that has the eye in the top like part of it. And the eye is actually the Master of Masters eye. And what he put his eye into the Keyblade so that it would travel forward in time, and then he would be able to see the future, basically. Like, it's how it's working. Because it's like traveling forward in time, but then him as a past self could always see what was happening in the future because of wherever that Keyblade was traveling. And then he was writing a book called something or other. I can't remember what the book's called, but he was basically writing a book that tells the future and seeing what was going to happen. He tells... And at one stage...
Is that the Keyblade that he breaks at the Realm of Darkness?
Yes, okay. That is the Keyblade. But then Lushu has it at the end. It somehow comes back together and comes back to Lushu. So,
well, he must have taken it.
I guess. I guess so. Lushu is given a box by the Master of Masters. No one knows what's in it. That's something we don't actually know. And he's told to basically fuck off with it and travel around. So that's why he's got the box and he's been pushing this thing around for 100 billion years or however long it's been at this point. And then, of course, we do see a shot of Pete and Maleficent overlooking the box, and it's like, oh, I'm glad that all got tied back together rather nicely.
Like, no, we can't get this box.
Yeah.
We'll go home.
And I think other voice actors here are, so the one yelling at Lushu is Matthew Mercer, and then like one of the other people, Travis Williams, one of them. So it's kind of setting them all up to be key players in the upcoming games, of course. Yeah, there you go.
Is this also the part where they cut back to the kids playing the game?
Yeah, they do. No, they do it in the secret movie or after. No, I think it's in the secret movie. I can't actually remember. They're all fucking.
No, I think it's here. They cut back to it, and then he's like, they start a new game.
Yeah,
the figures that look like the foretellers.
Yeah. I can't remember. Yeah. So they cut back, and the chess pieces here, or whatever they're called, but call them chess pieces, they're important because it's like they come back and he says, "Hey, I've heard about a new game." Arakius says this. I've heard about a new game. And then Xehanort says, "How do you play it?" And it says here, and he places out 7 black chess pieces. So, and then he smacks down 1 white piece on the table, and then it cuts. But what's important here is that it's 7 black pieces, which is the opposite. So it used to be 7 light players in the old game. So it was like 13 pieces of darkness, 13 organization members plus 7 light wielders, which was all our Keyblade wielders in this game. And now it's kind of been, well, not reversed, but like the darkness members are now 7, and there's only 1 light person, which is presumably, of course, Sora. And that's like setting up it's basically set. Yeah, it has to be. And it's basically setting up what will be the upcoming series of games and events, which is going to be Sora versus 7, whatever they be. I don't even know how they work out, because there's 4 bad foretellers that we can gather. Unless she goes bad, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be a good one. But even if she's a bad one, there's like 5. Well, Master of Masters is
4.
6.
You got the 4, you got Luxu, and then you got Peter Millicent.
Yeah, I don't think that adds up. But no, the Master of Masters as well. So it's like 4, 5, 6, 7. If you count Peter, I don't know. It's all confusing, but let's talk about the secret movie.
Decades away before we have to worry about it.
Probably. There's going to be a bunch of things that happen. Although this game sold the most out of any game in the franchise thus far. So if Square was smart, they would say, "Hey, how about you don't fuck around and put the next one out."
No, but he's working on Final Fantasy
7. That's right. Oh, fuck. Yeah. All right. You're right. I'll be 48 with kids and dying. The
kids part, not the dying part.
The big one, though, I feel, for this franchise, the one that people are spending the most time going, "Oh my God," about, which was when the secret movie was revealed and shown. All these games always have secret movies. That isn't a big deal, but this secret movie shows is kind of a big deal. It's really weird, considering all other games, their secret movies hinted at stuff that made sense for the universe and what was happening. This one is very, very weird, especially given what happens at the end of this game, Sora disappearing and all these sorts of things. So, secret movie opens with Sora awaking in a world that looks a lot like Shibuya in Japan.
So, the real world.
The real world. However, people are saying that it's possibly would tie into the World Ends With You world, like the World Ends With You game, which are characters that Sora bumps into in Dream Drop Distance. It's the only time those characters have appeared. And their world is set like based around the real world, of course, in that game, in that particular marketplace. And that game is basically around characters coming there as kind of a halfway place between life and death kind of thing, like a traveling point type thing. So thematically, it would make a lot of sense. So Sora awakens. He begins walking around there. We then cut to, and we also see Riku, who's awakening in a world. And although it kind of might look like the exact same world, it isn't, because it's Yuzora, the world, which is the game from the Toy Story world game, like the Final Fantasy 13 thing that you see in Toy Story, the actual ad game. And to confirm that it is the Yuzora world, there are 2 things. One, the secret movie, if you view it in the game, like where they're all titled different things in the cinematics viewing thing, the theater mode, it is called Yuzora. So that all and but confirms it. But also you see the lead character of the Yuzora game at one stage is on top of a building looking down at Riku. He has like 2 different colored eyes, so you can see him at one stage too, looking down at Riku. So it appears that Riku's in a Yuzora world, which is basically a Final Fantasy 13 versus world, kinda, although not named. And then Sora is in a what seems like World Ends With You potentially world, which would mean they're both in Square Enix designed worlds, which is something that the franchise has never done before. They have Square Enix characters in them, but all of the worlds in Kingdom Hearts have always been, apart from like Twilight Town and original Kingdom Hearts ones, of course, all the worlds have always been Disney worlds, never actually Square Enix original world. So that could be a twist it could be a sign of the direction twisting in which the franchise is going to head.
They're going to go through all the Final Fantasy and Square Enix properties.
Potentially.
They're going to be in Octopath Travelers.
Maybe, yeah.
They're going to be in Tomb Raider.
Yeah, maybe. I think...
or Far Cry 5.
No, that's Ubisoft. I mean, I think it kind of makes sense, because... and I would be okay with it, because,
Just
as
Cause,
I said...
that's the one.
That is a thing, yes. I think it would make sense. Well, no, because if it kept with Disney, it would mean it would have to be Square Enix original worlds, not like because they only do Disney original stuff. That's why Star Wars would never count and Marvel would never count. That's why, like Nomura always said, it has to be Disney original properties. It can't be stuff that Disney just so happens to own. So keeping with those rules, it would have to be original Square Enix properties, not stuff that they happen to publish.
Why?
Yeah. But I would be okay with the twist solely because one thing, and this is a whole separate video, basically, and a whole separate topic, but I'll quickly note on it, which is that I had a problem with this game. And I feel like all the Disney stuff was kind of seemingly forced and didn't feel like it was needed. And it felt like Nomura was forced to do it to a degree, even though he may not wanted to do it at this point. Whereas, and all the Final Fantasy characters were kept out of this game also. There was a lot of storylines with Cloud, Sephiroth, all these sorts of things, Auron that we've seen, other games, storylines that were set up but weren't resolved ever. And they weren't in this game and they weren't resolved. They could have been because they're saving it for the next series of games. Would I be okay with a bunch of worlds featuring Square Enix properties? Sure, why not? Especially after playing. If you'd asked me before playing this game, I would have been like, I don't know about that. But after playing this and seeing how I felt about the Disney worlds, I'm okay to try that and give it a shot and see how it turns out, how I reacted to this one. Would you be okay with Square Enix worlds being the next?
I mean, maybe for one game, like just to make it a bit different.
Maybe a combination.
It'd be interesting from a licensing view. Like, then they don't have to pay Disney for if it's just Sora and
they
Riku.
still have Donald and Goofy turn up for sure. Like, there's no way.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I know.
Or maybe they mix it.
Sora just went off on his own.
Yeah, I guess. You know he'll turn up back. You know he'll turn up back up though. And then the last thing in this movie is that you see a hooded figure on top of a building, and he holds up his hands to the moon. And the moon is important because the moon is circular and it's not a heart. Whereas in all other Kingdom Hearts worlds, even though it's not the Kingdom Hearts, the moon shapes are always heart shapes. And no matter what world you are, if you actually see a moon, they're never circular, proper circular. So he holds his hands up to the circle moon. At first, he makes a box. As far as I'm aware, it looks like he makes a box purposely first, like hinting at the box and the contents of that, which maybe the contents of that box will help force this other world moon to turn into a Kingdom Hearts potentially. I don't know if that's what he's hinting at.
Maybe these are just carded heart worlds that aren't connected to Kingdom Hearts.
That's potential. Yeah. That's a possibility. Yeah. So he makes a box and then he makes a heart, of course, over the moon, turning it into Kingdom Hearts. And then the clip ends with saying reconnect Kingdom Hearts, which isn't that important because that's what all secret movies end with, the exact same text. Do you have any thoughts on this?
It's got potential.
Yeah.
It looked beautiful as well. It was like that high-end, awesome CGI
the
that
graphics,
you definitely couldn't pull off for an entire game. But
the graphics, I also feel like Sora and Riku look different in this world, like slightly different. Like you know, kind of how they change in different worlds. Of course, they turn into monsters and Monsters Inc. world and such like that. I feel like they kind of look a little bit more realistic, like to match in with the worlds, than they do even in as their normal self, which is weird. But that's the secret movie. I'm sure everyone will be fan theorying about that for many, many years to come. But I feel like between the epilogue and the secret movie, it's just like mind kind of fuckery, what's going on. And overall, as much as the ending kind of hit me in the feels and stuff like that, I do feel like this is supposed to be the end of a chapter, and it doesn't feel like a good enough kind of closure. I understand setting up and leaving room to set up the next one, but it feels too heavily, especially with like Maleficent and Pete turning up through the box throughout the game and all these sorts of things. I'm like, too heavy, hinting at what's to come and not just focusing on giving a good kind of ending to the game that we've got happening in front of us was what my problem was. All right. Do you have any lasting thoughts on anything Kingdom Hearts 3?
Meow, wow, the spirit summon that we were talking about earlier. It's a Dream Eater from Dream Drop Distance. So it's a character from Dream Drop Distance.
Okay, there you go.
A spirit thing. Important fact.
Fun fact for you. There you
go. I feel like they didn't. There was a lot. I feel like there was more summons in the previous games. I didn't feel like there was much. And then also, I think, how'd you feel about all the Keyblades? Because I think the best one was the Pirates of the Caribbean one.
I also stuck with the Pirates of the Caribbean one once I got it. And I felt like that was the best one.
Yep.
Although I haven't got the ultimate key yet, but I'm sure that's the best.
No,
but
that's
that doesn't
true.
count. Hey?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
They'll probably end up being the best one, but not counting that one, I'd say the Pirates one is the best one because it turns into that giant thing first. Well, all right. So my order was obviously Kingdom Key, then the Hercules World one, because it did the lightning ride thing for a while, so that was good AOE damage. Then once I got it, I switched to the 100 Acre Wood one because I liked that its first form just let me float around and spam like home-seeking missiles basically of honey off it. And then the second form turned it into a thing where if you're standing close to enemies, it would whack them. But if you're standing far enough back, it would just shoot constant rockets out of it as well. Yeah. So that was quite a good one. And then I switched from that to the Pirates of the Caribbean one. And that was the last one I used because that one had good AoE plus long distance and stuff like that. Yeah. Oh, that it? Is that the end of our Kingdom Hearts?
So.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Thank you, everyone.
Wait, does Sora still have another heart in him?
No, I don't think so. I think he's got no hearts in him at this stage. Let's be honest.
Except his own.
Yeah, he doesn't even have that, I don't think.
Maybe not.
I don't think he even has that left at this stage.
How did the Axel's friend, the blue-haired guy, come back? Because he died.
Else he's somebody. Well, because the version that died was a replica from the past, the future, the whole thing, just we don't really need to. Thank you for joining us today, either listening or watching to our Kingdom Hearts 3 spoiler review discussion. If you enjoyed it, please thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on the audio version, tweet at us and say thank you very much for that entertaining 10 hours or whatever it was. You can follow me on Twitter and do such things at Vivaladil, VIVALADIL. You can follow Ash on Twitter at ASHLEYHOBLEY. Oh my God. ASHLEYHOBLEY. I'd also like to point out, I don't think I've ever fucked that up. And this is the first time. And that's kind of just a proving point for a lot of things.
Yeah.
You can follow the Explosion Network on Twitter at Explosion Pod and check out the website where you find many more reviews, discussions, podcasts, many more great, fantastic things at explosionnetwork.com, of course. Thank you very much. And I'll see you again in 20 years' time when the next game is put out. May your heart be your guiding key.